My dad had us over for dinner the other night, and we were sitting there, and my girlfriend was here, and my dad was here, and I started tearing up. It gets emotional because like I look back and I'm like, who, like I don't even know who I was.
That means I'm moving. I made a few mistakes, but I'm improving. I'm human, but I've been making daily resolutions. I got to. You might do it different, but I'm not you.
Hey, Mark.
I'm self-made. I'm
Hey, Mark.
doing things that I
Mark.
was never taught.
Hey, Mark.
Hey, Mark.
All right, welcome to another episode of Hey Mark, the podcast where I, Mark, like to have open and authentic conversations about the things that fucking suck in life, the things that we struggle with, the things that we go through, some of the shitty things that maybe are going to be tough to kind of talk about or navigate through. You know, the reason I'm doing this is because I want to open up the conversation around things that might be stigmatized, things that we hate talking about, things that we don't want to reach out for help for, and basically just end, the idea of suffering in silence. And so sometimes I like to just go on a little rant by myself, talk to my phone, but sometimes I'm blessed enough to be able to have another perspective as well. And so today I'm sitting here with Aaron, and I'll kind of let you introduce yourself and just kind of, tell people like who you are, what you're all about, and I guess where they can find you on social media if you want to plug that as well. But
For sure.
kind of just give yourself a little introduction and tell people who you are and what you're about, man.
Yeah, hey, I'm Aaron. I'm an alcoholic and an addict. My story, it's pretty deep. Growing up, I grew up with a mom and a dad, and we were pretty happy. And I also grew up with our older brother, and every aspect of my life, it felt like from the very start, my family always favored my brother, and I was always left in the behind scenes. But and also like my parents were always fighting a lot, and it hurt. It hurt a lot, growing up and seeing that it's never really pleasant, right? Like it hurts to do it, right? And my brother played hockey, and so that always took, and I was just my mom always loved me, right? And that's what helped me a lot. Like it really helped me like cope with it and like understand that I wasn't alone, that my mom regardless would always love me, like that motherly love, right? Like
100%. Well, and it also probably gives you like for the events coming up in your life, it probably gives you like a reason beyond yourself to continue fighting, to continue going.
Yeah.
Right? Like when you feel like some love from the outside, or when you get like I guess like support early on, you kind of almost want to like pay it back to that person.
Exactly. And like I'll just continue on with the story.
Sorry.
Like no, it's okay, Mark. So basically like my brother always got stuff that I never got, and he always had more stuff than me, so that was always like we were always like battling, right? Like it was always like just a constant battle, like because I wanted my dad's attention, but he would always give it to my brother. Like my mom would always take me to lacrosse, like my dad would always take my brother to hockey. Anyways, it turns out like my mom and dad just kept on fighting, and the relationship wasn't working out, right? So like at that point they split up, and now I'm going into like high school. I'm going into high school without like a mom, and I stopped talking to my mom for like 3 years, right? Because it just it hurt, man. Like having a separation in your parents, it's just fucking hard. Excuse my language, but
No,
like
it's all good,
it's
man.
like the
You
hard
swear-
it's like
swear
the
no more.
hardest thing, it's like I didn't know what to do, and my mom like gave me an option to like go live with her, but like I never did, and that was probably should have, like I should have gone and lived with my mom, but I made that mistake, and that was where my problem first started, So let's go into high school. Like I was getting bullied, and like my speech impediment, it didn't help, right? Like the speech impediment, like my lisp, it didn't help. Kids were always like, even if they were just joking, like that shit hurts, man. And like it builds up, right? Like, and like it just like I felt different than everyone else. I was slower learner, I was like everything, so even starting there, like you can already see a problem starting, right? And like so let's started smoking weed. And as soon as I first started smoking weed, it was like an instant relief from all the pain that I've been through in my life. Like nothing else mattered. Like it just instant, like I knew there was a problem, because like every time I would smoke, I couldn't smoke one. I would smoke more than one. You know, I couldn't stop. I was stoned all
2
day.
joints, 3 joints, and you're baked all day.
Yeah, like not even caring about school anymore.
Baked,
yeah, everything. Like it just became like a problem, and like, you know, like my dad would always tell me like, hey, like, you know, I think you have a problem, and I'm like, no, like I'm fine. Like, anyways, like the fucking shed's a mess. Everything's a mess. My whole life's a mess. Like, teachers are calling, like, what's going on? Like, it was a problem. Like, you know, like I'm one of those guys that I can't just have one. I gotta have more than one. You know, I started skipping school, and then come like grade 10 or grade 9, I started doing cocaine, and you know, like right away, like I was in the party crowd at that point, like going to I'm not gonna mention any names, but going to a buddy's house and like a party house and like doing coke, and you know, not only that, I started raving. You know, I started raving, and I was like not even 19 yet, man. Like I was like 16 when I started doing coke, and then like started going to raves and partying and started doing Molly. And you know, as soon as I found that coke, you know, it was quite a big problem, you know, like
huge problem.
Yeah, like everything just started to take off. Like I got away with not doing coke for a while once I just stopped, like, because I still had weed, right, and I was trying to hide it, and you know how that is, right?
Yeah,
like, it's kind of difficult, but I started to rave, and you know, at this point it was more about the M than the coke, right? Like it would be every weekend I would go to a rave and I would party, and anyways, I was like 19 or 18 at this point of my life, and I was with a bunch of friends at a rave, and you know, one of the guys popped like 3 pills, and I'm like, you know, I had 3 horse pills, right? I don't know how much that is or whatever, and you know, I took it, and I was in the lineup, and all I remember is like a curtain of like black, like this closing, and like it was like scary, like it was like I seen the gates of heaven just like closing, and like I was fucking dying, like it was closing in, and next thing I knew, like it was just black, and I remember it fading in and out, and I went, because I didn't want to get caught by the cops. It was always like a paranoia for me. I was always running from the cops or whatever. I don't know why, but it was just constantly. So I'm behind a cop car, and this guy's like, hey man, like, are you on the same shit I'm on? And I'm like, man, like, I don't even want to talk to you. I'm fucking dying.
Yeah, you're
like,
in your own head. You're like, fuck off.
I'm dying. Like, I don't even remember. Like, I just remember saying that. And then anyways, it's just black again. And apparently, like, girls were in the lineup, like, cleaning my lips up and stuff, because I bit through my lip. I needed, like, 13 stitches in my bottom lip.
Holy shit.
Yeah, and so I took off, apparently. Like, no one could find me. Like, I was gone. And apparently, like, the thing that saved my life that night at the Pacific Coliseum is a security guard found me in a bush. Like this hiding. I don't even remember what. But anyways, he took me to first aid, and, like, they called my parents, and they're like, hey, like, you might want to come see your son. Like, he's had an overdose. Like,
he's in rough shit.
So
what a good guy, man.
Yeah.
So many people would just fucking,
you know,
walk
and
right
like,
past.
And like the crazy thing about, yeah, exactly. Like, you know, people were like making fun of me almost. You know, and I was,
that's what I mean. Yeah, people would be like, "What the fuck? What a junkie? What an idiot."
And like, you know, it's knowing at raves that, you know, we pop Molly, and it's just like dangerous. You know, like people think it's okay to go to a rave and pop this stuff, but like, you know,
or they're like, "Oh, if I only do it at the rave, I never do it in real life.
Exactly.
I'm not a drug addict."
Yeah, but it's still like it affects, like, you don't know, like, you know, your parents probably will get that call saying your son's fucking gonna die. Yeah. You know, and it's harsh. Like, I've been through it, and like, so let's get back to it, man. Like, I went into the hospital. They rushed me, or anyways, the first aid medic was like, Aaron, like, are you here? And like, I remember, like, Aaron, like, and then I would fade out, and then she anyways, I got to a point where I somehow gave her my dad's phone number. So my dad wasn't going to the hospital, and the ambulance people in the ambulance were making fun of me. Like, oh, let's go to a rave tonight. Let's do this. Let's do that. And you know, when you're overdosing, the people don't take care of you. They don't care. It's just like another drug addict, you know.
Yeah.
So anyway,
they're desensitized to it too, right? They see it all the time, and they're like, "Fuck, why do people keep doing this?" But they don't understand the mindset that gets you there. But keep going. Sorry.
So, anyways, I get to the hospital, man, and I'm just like, full blown, like, I don't even know what the word is to describe it. Like my heart's going at like 185 beats per minute, like 185, like 5 more, 190. You know, your oxygen starts cutting off to your brain.
Yeah.
And you know, like you either become like you either have a heart attack or you become like a vegetable. Like there's no life. You know, and like my mom, I just remember her like. Her facial expression, you know, just like, oh my God, and like, it was the first time my dad met like my mom's boyfriend, so that was kind of like, it was pretty fucking rough because like I was in the shape I was in, and like I just didn't want any arguing, you know, so I just immediately blacked out again. That this is what I can recall, like it is
it's like so much stress.
Yeah, I just like blacked out again, like don't remember, and then I woke up and all I remember the next time I woke up after that part, I remember my dad and the doctor talking, and like the doctor saying, yeah, he's gonna need 13 stitches in his lip, and my dad saying, no, like he's already had enough pain for tonight, like just don't do it. And I'm like, Dad, like don't worry, just let him do it, like I don't feel anything anyways, just let him do it. So yeah, man, like that was my experience with the rave, like it was like 19, you know, I was like 19 at the time, and you know, you think that would stop someone from like doing more drugs, right?
Yeah,
It didn't stop me. It didn't stop me. Things just got worse. You know, I later on in my I just started smoking weed after that for a while, and you know, and then I met a girl, and you know, we started dating, and you know, everything was all good and whatever for the first like year or two, and I was smoking weed, and then you know, an addict being an addict, I guess, right? It just, you know, I got this urge, like shit started to go bad in the relationship. So I'm like, fuck it, like I'll just pick up some coke, you know, and I started hanging around that bad crowd again. And next thing I knew, I was finding myself like every day, like doing coke, every second day doing coke, like getting coke at home, playing video games, just like becoming a total like, I started to lose, and like I started to forget who I was, you know.
Yeah.
And we would go to the house. My girlfriend would be there. We would be in the washroom doing lines of coke. You know, I'd be getting drunk. You know, I'd be coming home, and she'd be like, "Did you do coke?" And I was like, "No." Like, you know, I remember driving home in my car, like not even remembering how I got home. Like it was pretty bad, and you know, started doing mushrooms, and you know, all that just resulted in much more damage. Like it ended like. You know, my girlfriend, I knew stuff with my ex-girlfriend, stuff wasn't going good, man. Like, stuff was going so bad. Like, we dated for like 4 or 5 years, and, you know, everything just started to go down. Like, because of my addiction. Like, it was to the point, like, I missed her birthday because I was getting high on coke. You know, I missed her birthday. And, you know, we just started arguing more, and I knew, like, I had a problem. Like, I had a big problem, and my life was unmanageable. You know, I wasn't able to be employed. Like I had jobs left, right, and center, and you know, it was more important for me to go out and get loaded or call in sick. You know, I couldn't hold down a job longer than a week. You know, that was a problem. After a week, I was like calling in sick. You know, I was doing all that kind of stuff, and so anyways, I knew there was a problem, and I knew I needed to fix my relationship. You know, so I called my mom one day, and I'm like, you know, like I need help. I'm gonna die. Like I'm gonna die if I don't get help. So later that day, like her and her boyfriend came, and they picked me up, and they took me for a drive down to the east side, saying like, this is what your life's gonna be like if you continue going on the path that you're going. You know, like at this point, man, I'm in debt like $16,000, like all blowing on coke and like hookers and like. You know, this is the total fucking scumbag at this point, you know, like, this totally going down. Like, my life, like, and I have a friend in the program, like, I kept on going to NA meetings, like, Narcotics Anonymous meetings, and I thought that was gonna help me. Like, I thought that was gonna help me. You know, every Monday, that's my home group. I kept on going back. Like, every Monday, who's coming back? You know, I would always putting up my hand. Like, I was consistent, but I didn't have a solution. And so I kept on, so we took a drive downtown to Hastings, and they're telling me this is what my life's going to be like. And, you know, I'm thinking bullshit, my life won't ever get like this. So detox is right there, like Harbor Light detox. So I needed help, and I'm like, they're like, there's the door. Like, if you want to go get help, go and get it. So I go ring the doorbell, and like, anyways, we talk, and at this point, I'm smoking a little bit of meth too, eh? Like, I'm smoking a little bit of meth because I'm so far gone. But it was only once in a while.
How did you kind of transition into that? It's a big jump, man.
Transition into it, like the coke.
You don't have to get like too detailed,
Yeah,
but
the coke wasn't getting me high anymore. Like, my nose was all plugged. Like, I needed something to numb how I was feeling. Like, numb how I was feeling, and like, my nose wasn't like, I couldn't snort anymore. Like, my nose was fucked. So I actually started doing meth, and the coke wasn't working because I was doing it so frequently that the high wasn't the same anymore. It was like, I told
just using it to feel normal.
Yeah, using it to, yeah, exactly. And like, that was the crazy thing. Like, when I was using the meth, it was like not as bad as the coke, like the high for me, but I felt normal. Like, in the come down of coke, like when you would wake up the next day, I would feel depressed. I would feel like suicidal. Like, I wanted to kill myself. Like, I hated myself. Like, literally, like I fucking hated myself, man. Like, several psych ward visits, like just like going fucking stir crazy. But when I smoked meth, no problem. Like, I would wake up, it would be like I was fine. Like, it was a different kind of like high.
That's crazy.
Anyway, so I go into detox, and they're like, hey, can you come tomorrow at 12? So I show up tomorrow at 12, and I'm doing great, man. Like, everything's going good, and everything's going great. I get through detox, and I'm going into treatment now. Like, I wanted to go to TWC Together We Can, or it was Harbor Light, but I knew people at Harbor Light already. So I'm like, you know what? Like, my friend's telling me, hey, man, like, my friend, he's like, if you're going to go there, you're going to end up on the streets. And, this guy has called everything in my life that's been through it. He's called everything. He's seen me go from, like, here to, like, here. And so, anyways, I'm like, nah, you don't know what you're talking about. So I do what I want to do. And I go to Harbor Light. And, it's like it's like a pretty big building down there. It's Harbor Light. And, like, so there's like jail people on the like third floor, and there's like treatment people on the second, and or on the fourth jail. Third is like treatment, and second is like detox, and first is like the cafeteria, and like everything was going great. Like, I was helping out in the food line, helping out the homeless people, like doing the do. Like, I felt good, but I got into the wrong crowd. I started to hang around people fresh out of jail, like. They were, and they had a curfew at like 6 o'clock, so they started paying me money to run errands and shit, run out to the strip of Hastings and like grab them crack, and come back. And like, I was hanging out with them, and if you sit in the barber shop long enough, you're gonna get a haircut, right? Like,
fuck,
you know what?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so. I sat in the barber shop long enough, man, and
it's your turn to sit down.
Yeah, exactly. So I ran out, got it. I lasted like I was in treatment for like not even a month, man. Like, I think maybe a month or whatever. And anyways, I started smoking crack.
Fuck.
And I thought, hey, there's not going to be a piss test for a couple of, maybe like a week or two, because the whole time it was on a piss test. So I'm like, can probably get away with it. So anyways, the next fucking morning I wake up and there's a piss test.
Fuck.
So yeah, man, at this point I'm like, shit, like, my parents aren't probably gonna take me back.
Yeah, like, you're out of there.
I'm on Hastings Street, like, so I just tell the truth, and I'm like, hey, I used. So they got me a spot across the street. It's the Beacon Shelter on Hastings, man. Right away, as soon as I go out, as soon as I get kicked out, I know this guy across the street, like, he's in the shelter because he left. And anyways, I'm like, hey, you got meth? And he's like, yeah. And he's like, you want to try hair? He's like, I don't know if he asked me. I'm like, you got heroin too? And he's like, because I was so fucking depressed, man. Like, my relationship was going to shit. I had nothing in my life. You know, my dad didn't want to, like, have, because I was so fucked up. Like, why would he want me back, kind of thing. You know, my mom couldn't bring me in. You know, you can't carry the addict at this point, right? Like, I'm so far gone. I'm going to do what I want to do.
Yeah.
And so we go to the alley and I smoke a mix of heroin and or fentanyl they call it now, and meth. And next thing I know, man, like, I don't even care that I'm living in a shelter. You know, like, I'm homeless at this point, like, you know. And so, you know, a couple of days goes by, you know, my mom comes by and you know, I see her at she comes and takes me for dinner and a drive, and everything's good. And she's about to leave. I'm like, hey Ma, can I grab like $20 off you? Like, you know, she's like, yeah, for sure. And you know, being the nice mom that she is, you know, I feel fucking still to this day, man. Like, I feel shitty. Like, you know, I took that $20, I went to the alley and I bought some heroin or fentanyl off a dealer I've never seen. And I'm smoking it in my in the bathroom at the shelter. And next thing I know, I'm smoking it and I just fucking drop. Like I don't even remember it. Like, luckily it was like 6 a.m. and I woke up because I knew I was able to go out at like 7 and go and score more. So I wake up at 6 o'clock and I go in the washroom and I'm smoking fentanyl and I just hit the floor, like, just dead. Like, just drop. Blue and whatever the colors you want to say a dead person is, man. And good thing there was a guy beside me and I was dead.
Like in a stall?
Yeah. He fucking runs out. I'm like dead on the ground for like, I think it was like 5 minutes, man. Like, Jesus. I was just dead. So next thing I know, I don't remember anything. This is what I've been told. So people are running to me, like the people in the shelter, and they're Narcaning me. Like, you know, they Narcaned me 3 times and I was still like non-responsive, like dead. And the girl was like, you know, like, normally they only give you 3 Narcans because the 4th, like, it's not gonna do anything really. But the girl was like, hey, this guy's a younger guy. Like, I wasn't good, like, I look like this I do now, but a little bit strong, like, rougher, right? But she's like, let's give him a 4th shot, like, and
yeah, like his body might be able to take it.
Yeah, let's just give it, but like, we doubt it's gonna work. So they ran across to the other shelter, grabbed more Narcan because they were out of Narcan, and they Narcaned me for the 4th time, and I came to. And like, as soon as I came to, like, my butt, like my glutes or whatever you call it, my ass was like tingling. Like, I didn't know what the fuck happened. Like, I was just gone, like, from life. Like, my life like flashed in front of my eyes. I was gone. I woke up to like tinging, and I'm like, woke up with like 7 people around me. I'm like, paramedics there. I'm like, what happened? And they're like, you died and you came back. Jesus. And I'm like, at that point, like, I don't think it would be normal if I didn't cry. I fucking bawled my eyes out, man. Like, you know, I was like, that's fucked, you know? So they take me to the hospital because you can have a prolonged relapse or a prolonged overdose or something like that. So they took me to the hospital, and, you know, like, I was there until like 3 o'clock. Went there at like 7 o'clock or whenever they got me there, and I got out at like 3. And, you know, a normal person would be like, okay, I'm gonna quit this stuff. But my you know, you just have an overdose, you fucking died. What do? I go out and I get more.
Yeah,
you know?
You'd think that was your rock bottom.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I'm done with it.
Yeah. So
I died.
Yeah.
Then,
I go out and I get more. You know? So then I go back to the shelter and they're talking to me and they're like, hey, you gotta get back into detox. You know, like, you need help. Like, at this point, I'm doing the Hastings shuffle. Like, it's when you're like, your back, so like your muscles in your back start going.
Yeah.
So I was literally walking around Hastings like a total like addict, man. Like, you know, I never thought my life would get to this point, and it just gets worse, man. Like, so I go back into detox. I see my mom, and like, I think it was the hardest thing to tell my mom, like, when I had a visit with her, that like, hey, like, I died off that $20 you gave me, you know, that was the $20 that like almost killed me. So anyways, like life's going pretty good. I'm getting sober again, and you know, I decide like I'm gonna go back to T-Dub this time.
Yeah.
You know, I'm gonna go back to T-Dub. So T-Dub actually gets me in pretty quick this
That's
time.
the other detox.
T-Dub, Together We Can. No, I go back to Harbor Light.
Oh, okay.
Like the detox at Harbor Light. Like I got kicked out of the treatment center for using, and then I went to the shelter, and then I had my overdose at this point.
Yeah.
And then I go back to
they let you back
Harbor
in.
Light detox. Yes.
And then you went to a different shelter.
No, and then I went to a treatment center.
Oh, okay.
Like I went to a Together We Can.
Okay.
So at this point, I go to Together We Can. The first couple of days, I'm talking with my girlfriend at the time, and she dumps me.
Fuck.
Yeah, when I'm trying to get well.
Yeah.
So you already know where this is probably gonna go.
Yeah.
You know, I'm angry, I'm restless, I'm discontent. Like
You're like, here I am trying to make myself. Finally, I'm trying to make myself better, and now you fucking leave.
Yeah. So I'm like, all right, like, anyways, I'm just trying to put it behind me. I'm working the steps. I'm so fucking, like, I'm on methadone at this point. Like, I'm on, like, antidepressants. I'm on this. Like, it was to the point, like, I was in group, and I was, like, nodding off. Like, I couldn't even stay awake. Like, I was, like...
Just drugged up.
Just, like, drugged up. So, I'm on methadone. Anyways, I'm doing alright, and there's this guy, he's, like, always, like, fucking picking on me and doing this and doing that. So, next thing I know, one night, it's, like, 10 o'clock at night, and he has I don't know what it was about. I'm not even going to start to say because I totally forget. But I think it was over a fan or something. He charges down at me from the bunk bed, and he swings, and he, like, clips my nose. And I fucking just, like, you know, I already have all this anger and depression in me. So, like, really? So then I just start going at him, and I take him down, and I'm beating on him. And the next thing I know, like, 3 big guys come in and, like, tear me off him. And I'm like, hey, like, he hit me first. Like, I'm defending myself. Anyways, the next morning, they tell me, hey, you gotta pack your bags. You're out of here. Like, so at this point, I'm like, call my dad again. I'm like, hey, I'm kicked out. Can I come home? No. Because he wanted me to complete a program or get better. Because, like, who's gonna trust a guy like this shaping the house, you know?
Yeah.
Like, anyway, so they get me a spot at a youth shelter, like on it's close to Hastings. It's by, like, Victory Square. I think that's where their Remembrance Day services are, or whatever. Yeah. So I'm at I don't remember the shelter. It's down there though. Covington House. That's what it's called.
Okay.
Yeah, the Covington Health Youth Shelter. So the first thing I do when they drop me off, they needed to get some papers or whatnot. So, you know, there's a no drug policy there, right? So the first thing I do, I leave my stuff there. I go down to the strip. I fucking grab a bunch of meth. I'm trading cigarette packs at this point for meth. You know, like, you know, and it's pretty, like, sketchy. You know, I was trading them, and some people I'd, like, give a couple of smokes to and ask for a hit. So I was, like, not only, like, getting high, but at this point, I'm risking getting Hep C.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and like, if you were to ask me back then, like, what am I doing? I would have said, I don't know. Like, I didn't know what I was doing. So anyways, I get high, and I'm, like, high as a kite. So, and like, I can maintain myself when I'm high. So, like, I can talk. I can, you know, I'm functionable. Like, not functionable. I can't work or do any of that stuff, but I can, like, hold a conversation when I'm high on meth. So I go back to the shelter, and I get the bed, and I get everything. I pass the tests or whatever, and I get the bed, and, you know, I think it was Walford Day. So I get, like, next thing I know, man, like, I get money. Obviously, I'm a fucking drug addict. So I go down to the Hastings. I'm getting heroin. I'm getting fentanyl, and I'm getting meth, and I'm literally have a bag of meth, and I have 3 roommates. And there's, like, the bathroom door, it wasn't closed. It had, like, air, like, a space on the bottom, and like you could see through up here, and it was, like, a door down here, and then it was,
just
like,
blocks your body, basically.
Yeah, blocks your body. And you know what, man? Like, I was literally fucking smoking dope through the fan. blowing it up, and my roommate's like, man, I can smell that stuff, and I'm like, oh, it's just, you know, it's okay, like, it's just, well, he's like, I know what you're doing, and I'm like, okay. Anyway, so it's all good. I'm still doing that, like, for days on days on days, and, you know, it got to a point where eventually quarantine hit. So
this is like last year now.
Yeah, last year. I'm 23 years old. I'm in a youth shelter. Quarantine hits, and I get quarantined because I have like a whatever. I'm feeling sick. It wasn't corona or anything like.
Yeah.
And this other guy gets quarantined. So we come up with a plan. So I'm like, hey man, like, I convinced him to go to the hospital. And then he comes back and like grab meth on the way back. And he does. He grabs his weed and he grabs meth and he comes back. So we're
you guys like devise this little plan.
We devised the plan. Like we're smart people, man. Like, so he comes back with meth and like weed, and it's like, holy fuck, like it's like heyday. Like
you're like, and we're quarantined in here with drugs.
Yeah, and no one's coming in.
Yeah.
Like they're only gonna bring food to the door, drop it, and then we grab it. So we're like smoking cigarettes in the room, and like, dude, through the fan, like we're blowing it up. Fuck. Anyways, man, so everything, all of a sudden, he was no longer able to do that. Everything was gone, and I got out of quarantine. I started to actually I was clean. Like, this is the longest clean time I've had, but you know, I think it was like 2 months or however long I lasted. I stayed clean. Like the stuff. It was hard, man. Like I was trying to like go get my welfare check and like convince them like I'm just gonna go get my welfare check and I'm gonna come back
and score on the way home.
Yeah, but I was actually gonna go and score it, but they said no, we're gonna get it sent here. So I was like, fuck, man. Like at this point, I was like,
they're catching on.
Yeah. Anyways, man. So
yo, hold up. Sorry to interrupt this, but we gotta have a message from our. No, I'm just joking. I just have to piss. Hold up 1 sec. Sorry to interrupt you, man.
You can edit that out, eh?
No, I'm just gonna leave it in. I don't care.
Actually?
Yeah, I don't care. You can say shit right now if you like.
No, you're gonna edit it out.
Hey.
Don't be dumb, edit it out.
What do you mean?
Edit it out.
You don't think that was funny? Alright, sorry, I rudely interrupted, but we can edit that out, or you can try and start. If you can start it from like wherever you were, I'll edit it out, but I don't feel like you have to like start from that sentence.
Yeah, so I was actually, I was quarantined. We couldn't go out, like, we were just hanging out in the Covington house, like, and, you know, like, anyways, I started getting a little racist, you know, I was going through withdrawal, so I was...
When you're quarantined with this guy?
No, after. Like,
okay.
We were all, like, we couldn't go out, we couldn't leave. I got out, okay, I should say it right. I got out of quarantine, and now we were with the rest of the group, and there was, like, probably, like, 20-something guys in there, and, yeah, I started, getting a little bit racist to this one guy, and, you know,
Was it because like other people were doing it like around you? Or?
No, not even. Like everyone was sober there. Like, and anyways, I started to get racist to this one guy, and you know, I got warned that if I do it again, I'll get kicked out. So, anyways, I actually before that, like, let's back up a little bit. I forgot one part. I was actually on Hastings at the time when we were able to go out.
So your second quarantine ends, you finish your heyday, and you're like, all right, now I can get out into the world.
Yeah, so I get out in the world. No, we're still like this is before quarantine, like before we go into full on lockdown.
Okay.
So I'm actually, so I go out and I have a bunch of money, so I get a bunch of crack, and I smoked one hit of it, and I was like, okay, I'm just gonna go back, and that will be that. Like, I'll go and I'll smoke it when I get home, or I'll go out just to show them that I'm here. So I get home and they're like, hey, Aaron, we want to talk to you. And I'm like, fuck, like I don't know what's going on. So I have like fucking like $80 worth of crack in my pockets, like not thinking anything's gonna happen. And so they call me into the office and they're like, empty your pockets. And I'm like, I'm trying to think of a way to like sneak it into my like, you know, sneak it into my pants somehow. Cause I didn't want to lose that, man. Like, you know, like, so anyways, they found the crack on me and they took it away. And so every time I came in after that, I was like hiding stuff in my shoes, like beneath the heels, like just trying to be sneaky. Like, and I was coming in with like meth and like I would put my pipe in my shoes, you know, because they didn't check my shoes.
Yeah.
But I don't know, it didn't happen again. Like every time I came in, like I just felt weird because I knew I was like suspicious, you know, like I knew they were gonna figure it out eventually. But anyways, so that was the part I missed. Now I was racist to that one guy. I got warned, and so this other guy kicked a soccer ball at me, and like it like I don't know what he was doing, man, but I just fucking flipped and lost my stuff on the guy because like, you know, you're brought up and you're taught like to kind of, I was brought up with a lot of respect, like if I wasn't, like I was fucking like strapped, right, or like whatever, like this discipline, right, like it was big in my family, like have discipline and have respect for each other. And like this guy kicks a soccer ball at me and he's from another country and I lose my shit on him, like I just totally like blow up on him at this point. And you know, he's an MMA fighter and I'm an MMA fighter, so I'm ready to go. I'm like ready. Like I'm like, okay, let's go, man. Like you wanna go? And I called him I'm not gonna say it live on camera, but I call him a racist name.
Yeah.
That's my second strike.
Yeah.
I'm gone. Anyways, they kicked me out again. You know? And at this point I'm like, great, like I'm kicked out, you know. I was kicked out of Covington. So I've been kicked out of Harbor Light. I've been kicked out of TWC. Now I've been kicked out of Covington House. Like, like what kind of, you know? So, anyways, I have my welfare check, but I have no IDs, and like I wasn't smart enough to like figure out a way to like cash it, or like I didn't, because I didn't have IDs. I tried to cash and they're like, you need IDs, and you know, so I was sober. I was literally, after the Covington House, I went to the Union Gospel Mission.
Yeah.
And, you know, I wasn't high. I had nothing. I wasn't drunk. I had nothing. Like, I was absolutely, like, defeated. Like, I had no solution in my mind how to get more. So I was literally sitting outside waiting, because it opened at, like, 9 o'clock at night. That's when you checked in. So I was literally, like, just sitting out there, and you know, I didn't know what to do. Like, at this point, I'm like, you know, what's the point in me living? Like, you know, you can't even get drugs. Your family doesn't want to talk to you. Your family doesn't want to help you out. You know, you've caused all this shit. So I text my mom and I basically say, hey, like, you know, I'm going to commit suicide tonight or tomorrow if you don't come and get me. You know, so I play that game. And the next morning, because they let us out at like 8:30 the next morning or whatever, so I get out and it's fucking pouring rain. Excuse my F words, by the way.
It's all good, man. I swear all the time. Yeah. It's all good.
So I'm sitting, it's raining out, and I'm like, great, like I have nothing. Like I'm literally gonna be sitting down here with no ID, nothing. So there's a Wi-Fi spot. And I get this call, and I didn't even have a phone plan at this time. I was on like Text Now or whatever. Yeah. And so I get a phone call, and it's the cop. It's a cop saying, I'm with your mom and your stepdad, and we're looking for you. Where are you? They pinned my phone, and they came down, and they like, lights were on, and they're like, hey, like, we're going to take you to the psych ward. Like, that's what your mom wants you to do. And I'm like, no, I'm not going.
Yeah, because you threatened like, suicide.
Yeah, and I'm like, I'm not going. Like, I think if you were in my shoes, like, this is what I said to the cop. Like, I think if you were in my shoes at this point and you felt how I do when no one wants to help you, you have nothing to live for. Like, it's natural. Like, when you're so, like, far gone in your life and, like, no one's helping you, like, I think it's a normal feeling. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's either the feeling of, like, would anybody even miss me? Or it's also the feeling of like, I feel like people would be better off without me. Like all I'm doing is just poisoning everyone around me.
Exactly.
I felt like that, man.
Yeah.
100%.
So that's like that you banged on it, man. Like that's how I felt. Like life would almost be better without me. You know, like that's how I felt at that point. So the cop, like, we figured out, like, because I was sober at that time, but like,
Because you couldn't score at all.
yeah, I couldn't score. So the cops, like, hey, like, you know, you don't even look like you belong down here. Like, you know, and then the cops said to my mom, like, hey, like, if you leave him down here, he's gonna be like one of these guys who's like just so far gone. Like, now is the time to get him out. So like, anyways, I stay on a guy's, my mom plans it, and my stepdad, I stay at a friend's house from the program. He has like 10 years at the time. And so I stayed on his couch for 2 weeks and stayed sober, was happy. And my stepdad and my mom found me a place. And, you know, the cops ended up letting my mom take me, and they took me back to Richmond. I stayed on the couch at a friend's house from the program, AA, and Alcoholics Anonymous, if you guys don't know. And I got my own place. And, you know, it was a 1-bedroom and like a bunch of like people, and there like 4 people, I think, or 5 people. It was like just a shared accommodation. And, you know, I had money. And my mom went and got me I went with my mom and we got my IDs. And, you know, you think I'd stay sober, but as soon as I had money and I had my IDs, I had money. You know, that's my biggest thing today. Like, money's pretty scary to have. Like, I don't know how to maintain it. I don't know how to keep it. So I got on the SkyTrain without even knowing. Like, it's like when you're in your car, a lot of people probably can relate, and it's like you're driving yourself to your dealers and you don't even know. Like, it's scary. So I'm on the SkyTrain. I know I should be making a phone call saying, all right, I'm gonna pick up, I'm going to Hastings again after I've almost died, I've lost my life, you know, I'm fucking gonna die again, something's gonna happen, you know, why am I doing this? So I go and I pick up fentanyl and I pick up meth, and I come back and I use it.
Fuck.
So let the games begin. Let the games begin all over again. Here we go.
Yeah.
Here we go. How did this fucking happen after my life started to get good? And, you know, here I am hurting my mom again. Yeah. And my family. Like, I'm living, but I'm not existing at this point. I'm gone. Like, again, I'm gone. Like, there's nothing left in my life. Like, I'm using every day. Here I am using heroin and fucking meth in my room alone, no one there. Yeah. You know, and then
it just keeps coming back to the same cycle.
He keeps going. You know, I actually I started hanging around the same people I did. Started doing a bunch of coke again. You know, no one wanted to talk to me. My phone never rang.
Yeah.
And so. This was kind of like a turning point in my life, actually. I was in my room smoking heroin. I had meth and heroin or fentanyl, whatever. It's not even called heroin on the streets anymore. That's how crazy it is. It's called fentanyl.
Yeah.
Like, when you're out there, it's fentanyl. Can I get some fentanyl? You know? And so my friend comes over.
It's just like a brand new, like the whole drugs evolved. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just so messed up. Like, it's going to be at that point where you're not even going to be able to, like, if you touch it, it's going to be so powerful that you're just going to drop. Yeah. Like, that's how much it's progressing.
Yeah.
Like, all the stuff they're buffing it with now is like, wow, like, this is crazy. Yeah. You know? And if you were to ask me, like, if I would ever smoke heroin, I would have said, you're full of shit. Like, I'm never touching that, you know? But it's just like, it starts with weed, and then it goes coke, then it goes meth, then it goes crack, then it goes heroin, and, you know, you start hitting, like, all these things you never thought you would hit.
Yeah.
But I've hit them all. I've ticked them all. Like, at this point, it's like, yeah, like, I've hit every single one. I'm so cool. Like, look at me. Like, anyways, my friend comes over. He's in the program. I have meth pipes. I have heroin laying around. And he's like, man, what the fuck are you doing? He's like, you want to die? You're going to die. You're using heroin alone? Like, what are you doing to yourself, man?
Yeah.
And he's just like, I'm like, you're right. Like it actually, like, the light bulb clicked on a little bit, and it's like, what am I doing? You know, like, I'm gonna kill myself. They're gonna find me a week later. I'm gonna be sunken into the ground. And, you know, it's just like, I didn't want my life to be like that. You know, my stepdad kept on telling me to get off the methadone. You know, methadone, like, in my perspective, is like, man, I was hooked to that. Like, I wasn't even like, I used heroin like 5 times, but I was hooked on methadone. Because when I went into detox, Fraser Health literally, like, legally needs to put you on methadone just in case anything happens. Yeah. And I got addicted to that. So that's where my opioid problem started. From, like, being addicted to methadone. I couldn't go without it. If I went a couple of days without methadone, like, I tried to get off it, and I would shake. Like, I would go outside and it was like hot, it was summer, and I was like shaking, like, you know, I couldn't, like, not go without it, you know. And it got to a point where I was just starting smoking heroin again, until, like, my friend came. And, you know, it was a couple of days after that, I think, that, you know, I actually, like, I was so messed up. Like, they came and delivered my meds to my door. Like, shoppers, they came to my door and delivered it, and I couldn't even get out of bed. Like, this is how, like, I needed drugs. I couldn't even walk down the stairs and open the door and grab them. I couldn't do it. Like, the simple things in life that we can do if we're sober, I couldn't do that.
Just
like,
wasn't an option.
Just couldn't. Like, I didn't care if I was dope sick, if I was, you know, if I didn't answer the phone. Like, the important things became like nothing. Like, I didn't care. Yeah. You know, I just wanted to die. So anyways, I actually last 3 days without methadone. And I'm like, you know what? Like, I can kick this stuff. You know, I was on like 60 milligrams or whatever. So I actually start kicking it. Like, I'm literally making an attempt to come off methadone at this point, man. Like, which is pretty like awesome. You know what? And, like, I kicked it. I got off methadone, and, like, it was hard. Like, I was working a roofing job at the time, and, like, I couldn't like feel my legs, man. Like, my legs were tingly. Like, I smoked at the time too, and I couldn't even, I'd go out for a smoke, cigarettes and weed. And the weed actually is the only thing that, like, helped at that point. You know, it helped me kick that. Like, it gave me that enlightenment, at least. Like, I still had pain in my body, don't get me wrong, but my legs, like, when I went outside, they were cramped up. Like, this methadone, I've been told, it depletes your muscles. You know, it takes that away. Like, it eats away at your muscles, and it's true. Like, when I would go outside for a dart cigarette, I couldn't stand up for longer than a minute. Like, I had to sit down. Like, I felt like my legs were just gonna collapse. And, like, try roofing when you're, like, coming off methadone. Anyways, I stopped showing up for that job, roofing.
That ended real quick.
I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Like, so I successfully detoxed myself off methadone. Like, it was gone. But I still had my meth addiction, and I still was smoking weed, and we're still doing cocaine, and, you know, my life was still unmanageable as I was doing that, but I got off that.
And this was last year?
Yeah, it was actually, in the summer.
Last summer.
In the summer. So, I'm still smoking meth, I'm still smoking weed, I'm still doing cocaine, I'm still hanging around the wrong people. You know, my nose was just done. Like, I can't do any more coke. Like, every time, like, I'd have to let it go for a while to smoke meth, and, you know, my nose would start to feel better, and I'd do a line of coke, and it was just to the point, like, it just instantly plugged up. Like, there was no, I wasn't getting high because I was doing the speed at the time. And anyways, so it got to a point in my life, man, where, like, you know, let's fast forward a little bit too, because it's gonna be the same thing. You know, I'm in my room. It's just, I'm in my room, I'm doing nothing. You know, no one wants to talk to me. So, like, at this point, I'm living a life that's, like, not even worth living.
You're just a zombie. You're just going through the same cycle over and over again. Yeah,
and a couple of psych ward visits back when I was in Harvard, like, too, right? Like, this, like, so far gone, like, this, like, hating myself, just wanting to kill myself, like, depression and, like, anxiety's through the roof, especially when I'm high on drugs. You know, it's just like I become a person that, like, you know, nothing can fix it. You know, nothing can fix my addiction.
Yeah.
So, my dad comes over one day and he's like, "Hey, I think you need to get back into recovery." And he plants that seed in my head. That's like, okay, like I need some help. And then I'm talking to a friend on the phone, and he's like, he texts me after we get off the phone. He's like, "Hey, like Aaron, like I'm sorry, but like I can't be friends with you anymore. Like you need some help. Like I don't want to talk to you because you're gonna be the last guy who like I talk to. Like you're probably gonna die, you know." And like I'm like, holy fuck, like look at my life. Like now I'm losing friends. And he's like, if you get sober, like I'd be more than happy to like be your friend. So a couple of weeks go by and I'm still doing the same thing, and you know, it got to a point where like I was stealing my roommate's food and I was stealing from stores to get like more drugs, and I was just doing such like grimy things that like, you know, I'm one of those guys who like when I'm sober I would never steal. Like it hurts. Like I have such a big heart, it hurts. So I'm stealing. I'm not eating for like 5 days at a time, man. Like when I was on the streets, like literally like living on the streets, like back then, like I had nothing. Like I was awake for 2 weeks at a time. So like if you play
Jesus
back my life,
Christ.
like kicked out of 3 treatment centers, living on the streets, not sleeping because I didn't want to have my stuff stolen, because I sold it like at the market. That's how I got money. I lose a friend in my addiction too, like his name was Dion, like 4 kids, man, like great guy, like best friend at Harbor Light, man, like took care of me. Like we did everything together, we worked out together, and you know, he was just a coke guy like me, and he died of a fentanyl overdose in his single room at Harbor Light. So yeah, so life was pretty messed up. So let's just recap this all. Like I go from going downtown with my stepdad to detox to treatment to running stuff into the treatment center for jailbirds, and then I get kicked out for using, and then I'm in a shelter, I'm homeless, I have nothing to live for, I'm doing heroin, so I pick up my heroin addiction, and I go back to detox because I die. I come back, I go to another treatment center, TWC, Together We Can. I get kicked out of there from getting in a fight. Next thing I know, I'm back on this, like, going to Covington House because I'm kicked out and I have nowhere to go, and I'm grabbing meth, and I get kicked out of Covington House now. We go on lockdown, I get kicked out of Covington House for being racist, and so now I'm living in Union Gospel. I'm sober, I can't get my ID. Fuck, that's pretty unmanageable.
Yeah.
Eh?
Yeah, and it just keeps going. So like, what was the event where you're like, fuck this, I'm fully gonna end it? What was the turning point for you? Because you have all these times where you're like, you know, this is gonna be the time where like, fuck, this is my wake up call. I hit my rock bottom. Like, what was it that finally was like, maybe I have a fucking fighting chance?
Yeah, the turning point for me was my dad saying that it like planted a seed, and then the guy telling me that he doesn't want to talk to me anymore. And I called him. He's like, if you want help, if you need recommendations of treatment centers. So I'm like, okay, like whatever. Like I didn't call him. I kept on using. And so I call him one day. I'm like, hey man, like I need help. Like I'm gonna die.
Yeah.
You're right. Like I need your help. So he recommends Inner Visions Treatment Center because they work a thorough set of 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous, and you know, he said this will fit you right. Like I can just tell. Like he's been through treatment too, and so, you know, my life goes from this, and you know, this time when I went to treatment, it felt different. Like it felt like I'm done. Like I don't want to do this anymore. Like I need help. Like I need to do this. Like, and it was for me. You know, I made the call. I did everything I needed to do. You know, I just paid rent at the beginning of the month, and you know what? Like I left for treatment like a couple of days after that. Like I packed up everything. I cleaned my room. My room was a pigsty. You know, and I gave up everything. Like in the midst of my addiction, I was driving around without insurance on my car for 3 months.
Jeez.
Yeah. 3 months, I didn't care. It was not a big deal, you know, nothing was a big deal. So I gave up my 1 bedroom. I gave up all that money that I borrowed off my parents because I spent all my rent money on dope.
Yeah.
And so I gave up all that rent money and I went to treatment. And, you know, when I was in treatment, like, you know, I'm not really like a big fan of treatment centers because there's a lot of drama in them. And like, that's why I always get in fights or I get used. And, you know, this time it just felt different, man. Like, it felt like magical. Like, I was excited, you know, and the hardest thing, so I go to intervisions. I was at the Prairie House and, you know, my mom we were driving, I had a check-in at 11 a.m. and my mom, you know, I'm about to say goodbye to my mom and, you know, she starts just like bawling her eyes out and she's like, you know, this is your last chance. Like, if you end up relapsing, I'm gone. Like, I'm not going to talk to you anymore. And, you know, I was like, don't worry, like, you won't have to worry about that. And you know what, man? Like, the only thing that fucking fixed my addiction and helped me was these 12 steps, a spiritual awakening. You know, I've tried everything to use successfully, you know, and I was unsuccessful until I worked these 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous. Like, I've had a spiritual awakening. You know, I have people who actually genuinely want to talk to me. You know, I graduated the program of interventions. You know, I went to second stage. You know, I met a girl as a result of this, you know, who wants the best for me, who is sober, who like loves me. So like, I've got all these things in my life all because of the 12 steps and the promises. You know, before I'm halfway through, I'll be amazed.
Yeah.
And like, you know, I just took 4 months yesterday, like 120 days sober,
yeah,
right?
Dude,
like,
congrats. That's
so like,
so sick.
Like life is just like, you know, there is hope out there, man.
Yeah.
Like you know, you need to do the work that's provided, and you will stay sober if you constantly journal, if you work the 12 steps, if you have a sponsor, if you have a support group. You know, you don't have to feel like this.
Yeah.
You know, and like, it also ties in with mental health. You know, like if we take our meds daily and we talk to the right people and we get on the right meds, you know, we can get out of our heads a little bit, you know, because we're so depressed, we're so upset. So as a recovering addict, I want an easy way out. So I take the drugs, but that's not the case, man. Like, I have an option today to pick up, you know, I'm out of active addiction. So it's my choice if I want to pick up, or do I want to pick up that phone and call someone in Alcoholics Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous, Cocaine Anonymous. You know, I switched my phone number to get all those people that are like, that I don't want in my life anymore.
Yeah.
You know, because it's true, man. Like, we are who we hang around, right?
Yeah.
Like, you know, if I hang out with someone and they can't teach me something, if they don't want the best for me, if they're not like positive, why do I want them in my life?
Yeah.
You know, like, as a result of having negative people in my life and like not doing anything, going to work, coming home, getting loaded, you know, it fucking got me on Hastings Street, man. Like,
100%.
You know, it got me doing slimy things that I never thought I'd do, you know, and like, I have an obligation today to like pick up the phone and call, like, when my mom's calling my phone, like, I have to pick up that phone and let her know that I'm doing good, you know, because of all the shit I put her through. And like, still to this day, like, she always tells me I'll never know that pain that we put our parents through when we're in active addiction. Like, and it's so sad that we do this to our parents, the ones that brought us up, that want the best for us, that will do anything as long as we stay sober. You know, they'll be there for us.
Yeah.
The minute we cross that, they can't do anything. We're gone. Like, we become like monsters, man.
Yeah.
Like, it's, you know, I had my dad and I was out for, my dad had us over for dinner the other night, and we were sitting there and my girlfriend was here and my dad was here, and, you know, I started tearing up. It gets emotional because like, I look back and I'm like, who, like, I don't even know who I was. Like,
Yeah.
I was, like, gone, man. Like, I did so much shit, like, I never wanted to do in my life.
Yeah, you lose
You know,
yourself
like-
completely.
And now I'm sober, and I'm starting to find out who I really am. And, like, I don't even know who this guy is. You know, like...
It's so extreme, yeah. It's like, when I hear your story, man, I think there's, like, I guess, like, kind of three main lessons there. Like, the first one is, like, dude, you never know what's going to happen to you. Like, you can grow up, like, I remember thinking the exact same things you were describing, where it's like, I'm never going to touch this, I'm never going to touch that. Like, I remember the first time me and my buddies had the conversation of, like, oh, have you heard about, like, marijuana? Have you heard about weed? And I remember me and my buddies being like, I'm never going to fucking touch that. Within 2 years, we're smoking joints at high school. Like, within 2 years, like, nothing. Like, your world just snaps, and then all of a sudden, it's the opposite. Like, the other thing that I realized from you is, like when someone doesn't have the mindset of, like, wanting to improve, wanting to get better, there's nothing you can do to, like, kind of save that. Like, you have so many people reaching out to you where you're, like, your parents are trying to help you, you have people in shelters trying to help you, you have people in detox trying to help you, but you just weren't in the mindset yet, right? Like, you weren't ready to heal. It wasn't even until, like, dude, all of those people probably did things that were, like, way more extreme than what your stepdad had said to you, but because you were in, like, the mindset at the time when your stepdad says, like, dude, I think you should consider going to detox again or treatment again, you were so receptive of it at that time that it's like, it barely took anything. All you had to do was say this thing to you and it clicked. You're like, okay, fuck, man, I'm done.
That was my dad who said that. Like,
your dad.
Yeah, my real dad. And, like, you know, like, you know, I never got through a set of steps, man. And, like, you know, I think if everyone in the world were to work a set of steps, regardless if you're not a drug addict or you're not a alcoholic, like, I think this world would be a totally different place, man. Like, that's the most spiritual stuff I've ever done. And I'm not a religious guy, I'm not a spiritual guy, but, like, after working these steps, man, like, I drop to my knees every morning and I pray. Yeah. You know, if I don't, like, I'm getting shivers talking about it, you know, because, like, if I don't do basic things in my day, like journal, like you talk about in your podcast, man.
Yeah.
Like, you talk about journaling, like, that's such a beneficial, like, tool to have.
Yeah.
Like, man, like, I've been doing that for 4 months straight. I have, like, 120 pages.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. And like, praying, like, a God of your understanding, regardless if it's God or, like, if it's an angel, as long as it's not a doorknob or a light bulb, because that's unrealistic, right? You got to have something realistic. Like, my higher power is an angel, man. Like, it's just, you know, if
you can call it the universe,
yeah,
you
exactly,
can call it God,
yeah,
you can call it the creator, whatever you want to say.
And if there's not, like, for people who think there's not something bigger than them out there, you're lying to yourselves, man. Because if there wasn't, I wouldn't be here today.
Yeah.
Like, if it wasn't for a higher power, you know, I would have been dead 2 times. But clearly that higher power wants me to live. You know?
Well, that's like the last lesson I was going to say, like the third thing that I kind of pulled from your story. And it's like, trying to find, like, the right word for it, but, like, kind of like submitting. You're, like, kind of like, you know what, maybe I don't have, like, because I feel like what keeps somebody as an addict is kind of, like, contradictory to what most people think. Most people, when you see an addict, you're like, oh, they're helpless. But I think, like, in my experience, seeing my friends and even in some of the problems I've found myself in, it's like, you're so stuck in that egotistical, like, version of yourself where you're like, I think I got a grip. I think I have control over this still. Like, this isn't fucking up my whole life, right? And it's not until you submit yourself, like, you're like, fuck, maybe I do need some help. Like, maybe this isn't, like, if I had the answer to this problem, I wouldn't be in this fucking situation. Like, maybe I need to just drop my ego at the fucking door, figure out what I actually need to learn, let someone else take the reins for a second. Like, the decisions I'm making aren't landing me in the right positions right now. Like,
yeah, exactly. And, like, you know what's cool about this whole thing, man? Like, I've smoked cigarettes, like, for, like, my whole addiction, like, since high school, like, since when I first started smoking weed. And when I came to treatment, man, like, I fucking wanted to quit everything, dude. Like, I didn't want to vape, I didn't want to smoke. You know, I was up to 2 packs of cigarettes a day in treatment. And, you know, like the staff were telling me, oh, don't take too much on your plate at once. I was like, man, like this is the place to quit everything. Like if I'm gonna quit, I'm gonna quit here. You know, I've actually been like, I quit smoking. I've been like off cigarettes for like.
They actually told you don't try and take too much off your plate at once?
I've been off cigarettes for a month and a half, man.
Wow, dude.
Yeah.
That's
like,
huge.
Yeah, like I don't even have any desires, you know, it was just like, and like it's funny, you think back, you're like, why did I start? You know, it's just like, you know, it's just fucking gross, man. Like smoking, when
cigarettes plagued me for so long, man. I was always that guy, like growing up as a teenager into like my early 20s. I would always look at my buddies and like, what the fuck are you doing? Why are you smoking darts? Like, I don't fucking get it. And I think I started smoking cigarettes at like 21 or 22. And bro, I picked it up on purpose. I actively was like, it looks cool in movies. I kind of like it. Like, it's kind of nice.
You get a little head rush.
I like the social aspect of it too. How you're like, you say you're at like a restaurant with a group of buddies. You're like the 1 or 2 or 3 guys that are gonna go out separate from the group, and it's kind of like the cool boys club, like kind of like, oh yeah. So I like purposely, I was like, I don't know if it was like the people I was hanging out with, not even because most of my friends don't smoke, but I was like, you know, I'm gonna like I actively picked it up, like I'm like fuck, I want to start smoking, and bro, it's been plaguing my life ever since. It wasn't until I think last year. I was like, fuck, I'm done with cigarettes. It was a camping trip I went on. And me and my buddy bought like 6 packs between the two of us for the weekend. And we were done it, and like within like literally like probably 2-3 packs a day we smoked just camping. Yeah. And I remember looking at him at the fire. We're sitting at like the fire. We're having like a smoke together. And I'm like, bro, I'm fucking done with this. This is brutal. My throat hurts. My lungs hurt. Yeah. I'm like, you know, I don't want to eat because I'd rather be smoking. Like, I don't want my mouth to be busy. Like,
exactly. And it's funny, like, when you're like an active cigarette smoker, you want to like, after everything you do, like if I were to eat right now, like if I were to drink a cup of water, I'd want to go for a smoke right away. Yeah. You know, it's like
after sex, after eating, after drinking, after anything.
Yeah, it's like, honestly, man, like that's one of the hardest like things to just like quit. Like, it's hard. Like,
man. So like addiction is like nothing. Well, it's something that I like, you know, don't really cover a lot in my videos, but there's a lot of aspects of, you know, like recovery that I think translate into like mental health. Like I think that like a lot of the things that help out with like recovery in terms of like addiction also help with like recovery in terms of like a lot of other problems, like say like depression, anxiety. Like you were talking about like journal helping you a lot as well. Like probably reading, like you just mentioned a book recently, like reading helps you out a lot. You know, probably like meditating or practicing any spiritual thing, like you're saying, like prayer helps you a lot.
Yeah, like prayer, like reading books, man, like self-care, and like, you know, not only that, like, you know, like when you're stuck in your head, you know, the only thing like that really helps is like calling someone. You know, calling someone and telling them how you're feeling, you know, going out, meeting them for coffee, getting out of your head, like not being stuck in that head spot, you know, like, I don't know how many times I can recall, you know, I've been sitting in my room when I was in like that mental health and like addiction, and I'm like, you're a fucking idiot. You're useless. You know, I had all these demons talking to me in my head, like, man, like, you know, and I never reached out. And, you know, when I'm in that headspace now, like, you know, you have like 900,000 thoughts flying through your head a day. Eh? Like I read that in a book, like, you know, even when you're eating, when you're like listening to music, like anything you're doing, you're always having thoughts going through your head, you know, and like reaching out, you know, telling someone about your thoughts daily, you know, journaling them, like, you know, putting pen to paper, you know, like it's just like amazing, man. Like,
did you start journaling in treatment, or did you start journaling by yourself?
Journaling in treatment.
Yeah.
And
when you started, were you like is it's something like they suggest, I'm assuming?
Yeah, they suggest it, you know, and it's like now it's just like natural instinct to just like follow that program that I've been taught. Like it's just like daily, like, you know, it's funny, like now I'm out of treatment, my girlfriend thinks that you know, I'm slacking a little bit, but she doesn't see it, right? Like it's funny that like if you're not me, you won't see it, right? Like I'm journaling every day. You know, I'm currently on step 8. It's like making amends to people I've harmed and like you know writing that all that shit out, and that's like for me like steps 8 and 9 are hard. Like you know, it's bringing back a lot of things that you've done and the harm you've caused a lot of people, and like now you're coming to like I've already done a set and now I'm coming back to it, and this is the set I'm gonna make my amends to all the people I've hurt in my life. And you know, it's the hardest steps. Like people think steps 4, like writing a moral inventory of yourself, that's step 4, and admitting it to another human person and God or whatever, like that's step 5. And you know, I'm currently on step 8, and that's like getting all your thoughts, like kind of like I don't know what the step is off my head, but it's like you're realizing the damage you've caused everyone else. And then step 9 is you make direct amends to people wherever possible, except when you do so would injure them or others, you know. And step 8 and 9 are like the hardest, man, you know, looking back at all the shit you've done. And like, so I'm kind of like plagued right now, like I'm writing the people and writing what I've done to them, so I'm kind of taking my time, because it's like hard to look back and reflect and know what you've done in your addiction.
Yeah, and your ego kind of blocks that out too, because like it fucking hurts to look at those things. So your ego wants to like block it out. You want to like remember it differently or not remember it at all.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
It's pretty hard
and
to reflect
like,
that way.
Yeah,
man.
so it's like kind of right now I'm just in like in a zone, like trying to get it done, but like I don't want to rush it. I want to do thorough set. And like it's funny, like you say your ego, like the ego plays their biggest role in your addiction, you know. Like we're so self-centered and manipulators as addicts. Like, you know, we've manipulated people our whole life. We've like ran people down to like an apple core, you know. We just pick people apart, you know. And it's sad. Like I've heard so many people just from like picking them apart, calling them names, trying to make myself feel better, you know, trying to bring them down to my level, you know, hurting them like that. And it's just so like self-centered, you know. It's like now when I think about it, I think about what can I do for the next person, you know, how can I help someone out today?
Yeah,
you know. And like that gets me out of my head too. Like that's another good thing. If you're ever stuck in your head and you want to get out, you know, try to help someone, you know, call someone and ask how they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Get yourself out of your head and into their head.
Mm-hmm.
You know, try to like be a positive role model in life, right? Like just don't try to I don't want to take anymore. Like I've taken from so many people. I just want to give back, you know. I want to volunteer, I want to help, I want to like love people. I don't want to like ever go back, you know. It's like it's pretty dark when you look at like the story I've just told you, and like there's worse stories out there, but it's not about who we've hung around or who we know, you know. It's about what can we do to help that next person, you know. That's what keeps me sober, and that's what our literature tells us, you know. You know, pass on the message, right? Carry the message to the still suffering addict and like try to help him.
That's huge. That pretty much probably answers the question I was just thinking about asking you, because I was like kind of listening to all this stuff, man, and I gotta say, dude, like it's fucking brave of you to just like come out and openly share this story, because a lot of the times, like, and this is like transparency right here with like, you know, anyone who's listening to this, like a lot of the times, you know, if I see someone, you know, it's usually someone that I know, like that I know well, that I kind of want to invite on to like kind of do an episode together, or, you know, maybe somebody I'm curious about, maybe somebody that I can see is doing some cool stuff, but you were kind of in the shadows of that, like, and I'm not trying to say like I didn't know who you were,
yeah,
because we went to the same high school,
yeah,
but like I didn't know about your story, I didn't know about your struggle,
yeah.
It was you that kind of reached out to me. You were like, bro, I need to share this story. And
yeah,
sometimes, like most of the time, I've only had a couple people reach out to me, and a lot of the times I'm like, okay, like maybe I don't really think this person's ready to share, or I don't know if people will be able to benefit, but like just the way you messaged me and the way that you were kind of like so determined.
Yeah, I did.
And
like,
you're like, bro, I need to fucking share this story.
And then like I think I told you, like I messaged you a couple of times. I'm like, take it or leave it. You know, like it's in your part now.
Yeah.
You know, if you don't want this, right? Like it's a message, man. Like I'm telling you, like this message, like if people want to hear it, they'll hear it. But if they don't, they don't. You know, if you want the message, I'm open. I'm an open book, man. Like I'm here. Like I just want to like get this message out there. You know, it's not a. You know, it actually helps me talking about it.
Dude.
You know, like I'll walk out of here today and I'll I'll stay sober just for today, right? Like, it's like,
That's why I started this podcast, is because like I was like, man, I've been suffering myself for so long. Like, I'm just gonna start fucking talking about it with everybody, and I'm gonna put it out there. Like, dude, it's not even my friends that see it. Like, I'm throwing it out there on Instagram. Like, I don't give a fuck anymore who's gonna judge me. Like, yeah, I do deal with depression. Yeah, I deal with anxiety. Like, this is how it's fucking being helped, right? But like, what I was gonna ask you is like, what kind of made you transition to the point where you're like, I need to share this story. I need to, like, what makes you want to share it, I guess? Like, what?
Because, I want to, for me, it's not about me anymore. It's about that guy who's still suffering, that is scared to reach out for help, that doesn't know how to reach out for help, that doesn't know that there's a solution out there, that he's still sitting in his bedroom and he's struggling, and he needs to hear this message that he's not the only one out there that's been through this, man, that there is hope of someone getting a message and getting sober, because the drugs out there aren't good anymore, man. Like, it's only about time people using drugs now, if it's even socially, recreationally, or whatever, man, they're gonna die, and it's like, if I can help one person out of a million, that's all that I care about. If one person can take a message of my experience, strength, and hope, because like, if I'm still out there, man, I'm doing no good to the world, like doing this, sitting here with you, like talking to you guys on the internet, and, it makes me feel good. It makes me feel good that I'm doing something in my life that's benefiting society.
Yeah.
I'm no longer, I'm becoming a productive member of society. Once I was nothing, I was sitting inside, I wasn't helpful, I didn't have anything to offer anyone, and like now today, like after this, like I've had a spiritual awakening, like I'm a totally different character than I was.
Yeah.
And I don't want anyone to feel like that, because I can't even explain the pain inside, living in that misery every day. It was to the point in my active addiction where I was looking for a gun to shoot myself in the head. Like I was looking around, I was messaging people, I was trying to find it because I didn't want to live anymore.
Yeah.
Like I didn't know there was a way of life.
Yeah.
People kept on telling me. I went to NA and AA for the longest time, and it wasn't helping me. Why it wasn't helping me? It's because I didn't do the 12 steps. I didn't read the literature.
Your mindset wasn't there.
I didn't know there was a disease, that like once I start, I can't stop. Like there's no stopping, man. Like when I pick up, that's it. It took me a year to come back to recovery and get it going again. Even though I was going to meetings, it took me a year to get back into treatment, get me the help I needed. Today I can't have a drink, I can't have anything, I can't have a joint, I can't do anything. Like if I were to get injured and I were to go to the hospital and they're like, you need this and that, is it opioids, is it like painkillers? I can't touch any of that. Like I'll reactivate the allergy all over again, and it will just be like back to the races.
Yeah.
Like, and I don't even know if I'll be able to make it back to the rooms or the recovery helps.
Yeah.
I don't think I have another run left in me, man. And I'm only 24. I'm a pretty young guy. Like it's just I fucking had enough. It's so much pain and suffering out there. The pain we cause our families, our friends, everyone. It's just why not just stay sober and not have any of that pain and misery?
Yeah. I think that like you and I are kind of similar in the sense that like when you find something that you enjoy, when you find something you like, or when you find something that kind of gives you something like maybe like an out-of-body experience or an adrenaline rush, like you're one of those people that just like, if you had a pleasure button, bro, you'd be fucking pushing it all day until that button breaks. And I think that like a lot of the times we think of that as like a negative trait. Like I think like, I know for myself, like I find something I love, I do the shit out of it.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
It's all I think about. It's all I want to do. I resent things that aren't that. But then I think that, as much of a negative thing as that can be, because it does lead to things like addiction, I think that if you can channel it well.
And it's funny because like, that's because they're not like addicted to drugs or alcohol. There's so many other addictions, like your addiction can manifest in so many ways. Like me, like my addiction's manifesting today, like by when I go to the bookstore now. I want every book.
Yeah.
Like you know, and I'm spending like.
It's a pretty solid habit.
Yeah,
though,
it's
man.
a yeah, definitely it's a solid habit.
But that's what I'm saying is when you find a way to channel that like kind of like addictiveness or obsession, like when you can channel it in the right area. Like for me right now, it's fitness. Like I'm just finding new and new workouts. Like I want to fuck my body up. Like I want to fucking be hurting. Like I want to find a new way to learn. Like
that's what I picked up too. I picked up fitness lately too, and I started working out again. And you know, it's nice, right? Like it sucks when you pull your back, but
dude, dude. Okay, so it's funny you say that because I literally just started jiu-jitsu 2 weeks ago. So you know. In my last like couple years, I've been in a pretty solid space. I haven't been like, you know, I haven't been down in the dumps as much as like a lot of other people have. So I'm pretty fortunate that way. But like I was really into like bodybuilding for quite a while. I did like a junior bodybuilding show, competed, and then I was like kind of playing rugby, and then I stopped doing that, and then. I was kind of lost, and I was just kind of like a gym bro for so long.
Yeah.
I was working in a gym. I like literally lived in the gym. I was in the gym minimum, like obviously 8 hours a day because I'm working there, but then I train there. So I'm like in a gym 10 hours a day, pretty much every day. And then, you know, I quit that, started doing my own thing. I'm still going to the gym. I get a job in a restaurant, and then COVID hit. And then, you know, the gym's shut down. So I was like, all right, I'm going to find a new way to work out. So I started going for bike rides and runs, and that was like kind of my new challenge.
Yeah,
okay,
I see
like
that. You're killing that,
right?
Like,
But,
yeah.
But then 2 weeks ago, or 3 weeks ago, I'm like, I need a new challenge. Like, I need to be humbled. I need to like start something where I can start from square one, like something like a brand new beginning. Like, I want to be a student to something right now. Like, I want to learn.
Yeah,
So
that's funny that you say that because like I'm actually thinking about like going back to school. But like I have a fear, you know, like I have a fear of the unknown, like, and it's like it's important, like you were saying, like it's really healthy to like I feel today, like to this face your fears.
bro, that's the ultimate ego buster.
You know what I mean?
And
like,
when your
just jump
ego is
into
gone,
it.
you live your best life, man. Because ego is what fucking drives you into addiction.
Like,
Ego is what fucks you up.
Just jump in it, you know, like even if you know, you miss out on like 99.9% of the chances you never take in your life, you know?
Yeah.
So you gotta take that 1% chance, you know, and like, you know, just take it, man. And like,
Yeah.
You're still gonna, like, even if you fail, at least you tried, at least you made the effort to try and do something that you wanna do, but you're just scared to do. And, you know, I find that's what holds a lot of people back is not, you know, having that fear of not doing what they actually want to do because they're scared of failure, you know?
Yeah. And so, like, I think, like, fear of failure is, like, it's like you're afraid of other people's judgment. You're afraid of exposing your own weaknesses. Because, like, there's a lot, like, everyone has weaknesses, right? But we don't want to fucking think about them. We don't want to talk about them. That's why we're so busy pointing out other people's flaws and weaknesses,
exactly.
right?
And, you know, that's why I like to come on this podcast with you, Mark, and, like, you know, it's important for me to get vulnerable. You know, I don't care what anyone thinks, right? It's my life. You know, no one can judge me. Yeah, well, like, you can judge me all you want,
Yeah,
but I don't really care. It's my story. If you don't like it, too bad, so sad, right? Like,
Yeah.
It's like a story, take it or leave it, man. But, like,
Yeah.
I'm telling you, like, if any of you guys find a way to use drugs successfully and, like, you know, to the amount I was doing, come and let me know. Because, like, I'm telling you, man, like, I've tried every way, and every way I've tried was unsuccessful, you know?
Yeah.
I ended up hurting a lot more people. But you know what? There's those people out there, too, that can, like, we call them a hard drinker or a hard drug addict, whatever it's in our big book. It says they can actually go out and they go on benders and they can just stop.
Yeah, they just
But, you
snap
know,
back to reality.
I'm that real drug addict who goes out there and I can't go on a bender. You know, a bender turns into a year. You know, I can't stop.
Yeah.
Like, I can't stop. Like, there's no stopping, and it's crazy. You know, it's like, I think there's something in our brains that, like, I think it might be the THQ. Don't quote me on this. But it, like, every time you put something in our body, it reactivates. Like, it triggers it. Like, it like, opens it up. And I don't know exactly, but it's the THQ effect, I think it's called. I learned in treatment. Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. It's crazy. And like, even to what you're saying, bro, like, I think that even the people that are like, oh, like, I call the people like that you're talking about, I call them the weekend warriors, where they're like, they can fucking go to work Monday to Friday, and then Friday, Saturday, they're getting fucking blitzed. Like I'm going to party on Friday night, wake up, like, have a fucking Caesar for breakfast on Saturday, day drink all day, and then wake up on Sunday, have a couple more drinks, like, stop drinking at like 4 or 5, go to bed, and wake up on Monday and go back to work. And that's what they do. They're functioning 5 out of 7 days, and then 2 days they're just getting fucking loaded.
Dude, and it's funny that we're talking about that, because like, the weekend warrior can put it down at the end of the night, but like, when I start doing it, you know, and the buddy's like, hey, like, I'm going to bed, and it's like, what the fuck do you mean? Like, you're done? Like, you're going to bed? Like, that's it? Like, let's call for more.
Yeah,
Sunday night get it going.
And they're like, no, it's time to work, man. You're like,
no, we're going. Yeah. Fuck work, fuck everything. You know, it was to the point I started selling all my stuff. You know, I sold everything I had. You know, if I had a house, I probably would have towed it to the dealer's house and gave him it. Seriously, man. Like, it didn't matter. Like, I was literally thinking about taking my car to my dealer's house and giving him it for more drugs. Just to get high. But I didn't, thank God. But that's how addicted I was, you know? Like, if I had a house, I would have been gone. You know, it didn't matter. Anything I had, it was gone.
Yeah. It comes back to that, like, would I rather have no house and drugs or no drugs and house?
Yeah, because like, when you have the drugs, you don't need the house because you're happy.
You're in bliss, yeah.
But like, it's like a couple, like, 30-minute high, and then you're like, what the fuck, you know? And like, in those like hour, you do shit you would have never done if you were sober. You know, your brain, I don't know what the chemistry, man, but you start doing fucking weird shit, man. Like,
bro,
shit,
have you you like rock and roll?
Yeah, a little bit.
You gotta watch.
I like country music.
Yeah?
Oh, rock, are you talking about the... Keep on going?
Sorry, I was gonna talk about a movie really quick.
Yeah, what movie?
There's this movie called The Dirt, dude. Have you heard of it?
Who is
the Motley Crue movie?
Yeah, dude, I watched that.
I literally just watched it last night.
I watched it 3 times already, bro.
Really?
Dude, that movie's like...
When Nikki Sixx, dude, when he's like, you're watching like the heroin addiction,
dude,
you're
can't
watching...
stop.
Dude, he's done, right? He's at Tommy Lee's wedding and he's just like destroyed. He's the best.
He falls off the stage.
Yeah, bro. Fucked up, man. And like, it turns you into a person. But there's this point where like, maybe he was doing a 12-step program, but in the movie, there's the point where he goes back to Tommy Lee's house and he's like, bro, like, I know it's been years, I know this all passed, but like, remember at your wedding when I was like super fucked up? Like, I want to apologize for that. Like, that was his point where like his ego's destroyed. He's like, I'm gonna make amends. Like, this is the one guy I fucking love. Like,
yeah, and it's like, also like, it was MGK was the drummer.
Yeah,
right?
Tommy Lee.
Yeah, Tommy Lee, man. And like, it's actually been a while since I've watched that movie. Like, I think I need to go back and watch it again. Like, that movie, if you haven't watched it, like, even A Million Little Pieces, like, it's another movie on on Amazon Prime, and it's like about a guy.
There's a book, right? I think I remember.
Yeah, it's a book. It's written off a book.
Yeah.
Like, and they made a movie about it, and like, yeah, man, like, it's all like, I don't know, like, this 12 steps have changed my life. Like, I never thought, like, you know, I never thought life could be this good. Like, if it wasn't for the 12 steps, I'd probably be dead, man. Like, you know, like, I have a resentment today against my treatment center I went to, Interventions, but that's me. Like, I'm working on it, but, like, you know, it's like, it was just hard to, like, the way I left treatment, you know, like, I left second stage. Like, I went, like, I was in treatment for, like, 4 months, or, like, close to, let's just say 4 months, man, and, like, the way I was treated was, like, dirt. Like, when I left, you know, it's just like, you know, they're more about, like, treatment centers are harsh nowadays, man. Like, it's more about the money, you know what I mean? Like, it's not about, like, yeah, it's kind of about the people, but they could do more to the people, you know? Like, they need to do more stuff, because, like, addiction is just, like, fucking shoved under the table, you know? Like,
well, it's a huge problem here in Vancouver. Like, it's I think that there's like a combination of a bunch of different problems. Like, I think that it's heavily stigmatized. Like, people look at addicts and they don't look at like an addict as if it's like a little brother or an older brother or or a friend, they look at addicts as like, that's a fucking junkie, right? Like they just think of them as fucking selfish and and obviously when you are addicted to things, you do make selfish decisions, but you're not yourself. Like I think that,
oh no,
like it's the stigma that sucks. It's also like the fact that a lot of these places are like overloaded. Like there's so many fucking people that abuse the system. They're just in and out all the time, right?
And it's like the turnover rate, man. Like when I was in treatment, like from first stage to second stage, like I must have seen like 50 people come in and leave. Like even more. Like I've had like 2 people, I think it was around 2 or 3 people who passed away, like who left treatment.
Fuck.
And like, you know, one of the guys was an alcoholic and he died of a drug overdose. You know what I mean? So like even if you're not addicted to drugs, when you take that first drink, you know, and you're hammered, you make decisions that you would have never made if you were sober. Mm-hmm. You know, if you're drinking, you're probably gonna do coke, you know, to drink more. Yeah. At least from my knowledge. Yeah, like a lot of people, you know, the one guy who died, he hated drug addicts. He hated drug addicts in treatment. Like he thought it should only be for alcoholics, and he died of a drug overdose. You know, so it's like even when you're under the influence, you make decisions you don't want to make. You know, like you act someone you're not. You know, and it's pretty sad, man. You know, it's like, and like a lot of these things, you know, we're hiding secrets that we don't want to tell people. You know, and that's what keeps us sick. It keeps us sick. Yeah. You know, it's why we work the 12 steps, man. Because then that step 5, when we go and we tell another person and we admit to God of our natures of our wrongdoings, you know, we tell them everything, even our deepest secret, man. Yeah. You know, and like, it's just like you feel an instant relief, you know, you don't have to hide anymore. You're not constantly carrying that weight around knowing you've done something that you shouldn't have done. Yeah. And like out of all, like maybe it's like one of the steps that really sticks to you, or like all the lessons that you've learned, like out of all the lessons, out of all the steps, like what's the one thing, if you can narrow it down to one thing, like what's the one thing that like kind of like maybe changed your life or shifted your mindset? Like what's the number one thing out of all like the steps or lessons that resonates the most with you, like that shaped who you are now? The thing that resonated the most with me and that I'll carry around the rest of my life as long as I'm living, you know, is helping that one guy who's still struggling. You know, having a helping hand and just being able to help someone who needs that help, you know, regardless. You know, I can't carry him, but I can help him, you know, I can plant the seed, you know, I can offer to help take him through the steps, you know, I can help someone who doesn't, you know, I can go to meetings, I can talk to him, I can tell him, I can give him a message of experience, strength, and hope. You know, I can give him that hope that, you know, you're not alone, you know. I can love you until you can learn to love yourself, right? That's what we tell people. Because, you know, it's important, you know, you come into these rooms and you're so broken, you know. And, like, we're pretty good at hiding stuff, right? But, like, at the end of the day, we're brilliant people, man. Like, you know, a lot of like famous people I think in this day and age are drug addicts and alcoholics, man. You know, like they're the most
recovered from.
Recovered from. You know, I'm recovering, right? But, you know, eventually I'll be recovered from the mind and body, right? Like, but I'll always be a recovering addict. Like I'll never be able to use like a normal person or drink like a normal person. Yeah. Do you ever listen to Russell Brand? Oh, Russell Brand. I actually read his book. I don't remember what one it was, but I read it. It's Russell Brand, man. It's hard. How about Brandon Novak? Brandon Novak has a crazy story, man. I don't know. He's like a professional skier. Like Russell Brand's good, but his like I don't resonate. Like it's hard for me to like resonate with him because of his like his accent and his at least in the book it was like a little bit like hard to understand his like the way he speaks, the way he like words stuff, and like his accent. So he's a funny little guy. Yeah, he's funny. But like for me, Brandon Novak, like even Steve-O, man. He's Steve-O. Even like Brandon Steve-O's podcast is sick. Yeah, man. like Brandon Novak, he was a professional skateboarder, man, and he burnt everything to the ground. He was prostituting himself on the corner of Philadelphia for $10, man, just to get more heroin. Yeah, I remember that. Like he was so sick, like. He was so sick, dude. Like, it's just like, these are what the drugs do to you, you know? Like, I don't know. I'm the real deal. Like, I'm the real drug addict or the real alcoholic, we call it. Like, I can't
touch anything.
I can't touch anything. Like,
yeah.
Like, even like the gum, like I've had this piece of gum in my mouth for 2 hours, and like when I put a gum, I'm addicted. Like, I can't stop chewing it. Like, it's fun, you know, like I enjoy it. Like, it gets hard, and just I enjoy rolling it around in my mouth, you know, like reading books. Once I start, I can't stop, you know. And the crazy thing is, man, is when you get sober, the stuff you do in your addiction that you thought was fun, like for me, playing video games was fun. Like, now when I tried to play it this morning when I was sober, it was like, holy fuck, like 5 minutes into my NHL game, I was just like, I don't want to play this.
Yeah.
Like, it's just so pointless.
No, I know what you mean, man, because I've got a PlayStation there and all it does is hold books. Look. Like,
yeah, it collects dust, right?
Literally, it's just a book, like it just has 5 books just sitting on it. Like, we haven't touched that. Me and my roommate, when we moved in, like, we have a PlayStation 4, an Xbox One, we have a Nintendo 64 with all the cool classic games.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I think he has a Super Nintendo or maybe one other thing. Like, bro, we're loaded. Like, with all of these different things, we never touch them anymore.
Yeah, you know, and like, it's like, for me, it's like, you know, the happiest people are in the world are the people who don't have much, man.
Yeah.
Like,
or the people that can live without much.
Yeah, like,
they might have a lot of stuff, but they're good.
For me, man, like, I don't give a fuck if you're driving the nicest car down the road. It's materialistic. If you're not happy in the inside, you'll never be happy. Mm-hmm. You know, it's important to have a nice heart, you know, like, be able to help people, you know, be, like, comfortable in your own skin, you know, like, not have too big of an ego. But, like, you know, for me, like, that's kind of a touchy subject. Like, sometimes you have to have an ego, right? Like, if someone's, like pestering you and, like, you know, like, you have to, like, fire back at them. But, like, again, like, that's why it's like, you know, I feel bad for saying that, because, you know, I want to be the bigger person and just ignore them, you know. But, like, for me, it's always been hard to just let people, like, pick at you, and then, like, you know, I always just want to, like, clock them one, but, like, it's not the right thing to do. Now it's like, what would, like, my higher power want me to do, right? Like, I got to turn it over to him. Yeah. You know, because that person will get what's coming, right? Like,
well, not even that, but it's also like, I had a buddy, because I've always been like, kind of like, things that I was talking to my roommate the other day, and like, he's talking about like, do you ever just like wake up and you get pissed off at certain things? And I'm like, not really. Things don't really bother me much. Like, it's people that bother me. Like, I don't really get irritated at things. It's always like people that bother me. You know, they get on my nerves, they piss me off. And I always think, like, I had a good buddy I used to work with like a long time ago, and he's like kind of like an older brother to me. And I remember him saying, like, I'm going off about how like this one guy was pissing me off so much, and he's like, man, like, that person's broken, bro. They're like talking to you from a perspective where they're like, fuck, they're broken.
Yeah.
And dude, like, you're like looking at a broken person and seeing them make broken behaviors or broken decisions, saying fucked up things that piss you off, and it's like, dude, like, would you be mad at a snake for doing things that a snake does? Would you be mad at a dog for doing things that a dog does?
Yeah, you're right.
Right? Like, you kind of have to look at, you know, that's a broken person. They're fucking, I just feel bad for them. Mm-hmm. Like, it's like a little kid having a temper tantrum.
Yeah, and you know, it's true. That's true. And it's like, you have something they want.
Yeah, whether it's a thing or a quality or a person in your life that they don't have.
Like, for instance, like, I was in treatment, you know, I had a strong program. Like, I worked my program, like, at least, like, 3 hours a day, man. Like, my steps are thorough, like, thorough, man. Like, I got a girlfriend. You know what? After all
I thought they don't like you having a girlfriend.
It's recommended you don't. But, like, who are they? Like, as long as she's supportive towards my recovery, she wants the best for my interest.
Yeah, it seems,
you know, why should that matter? You know, like, it's not their program. It's like, if I do that, that's me, right? Like no one can tell me what to do. And, you know, like, it's like, as soon as all these things happened in my life and I was happy, like, I was truly happy, like even though I don't put anything ahead of my recovery, once I put something ahead of my recovery, everything just gets unhealthy, you know? So, you know, as soon as I got, like, you know, the spark turned in my eyes early in recovery. Like, I started to see the sparkles in my eyes again. Like, they were just dead before. But then, let's get back to the girlfriend. My program was solid as fuck. Like, I'll tell you that. Like, I have a strong program. Like, I work, like, it religiously. Like I'm coming up to the end of my steps and I'm already like, what am I gonna do? You
Yeah.
know, what's the next set of steps I'm gonna get
I
on?
got an answer for you when you're done.
Yeah. So
Come to me when you're done. I got a program for you.
Yeah.
I got a program for you.
yeah, so I started to really be happy, and I started to feel like, okay, I don't need treatment anymore. Like I can do this on my own. Like I started to be like, wow, like this is working. Like I could do this in my daily. Everyone started to hate me. Like they hated on me, you know?
Because they're struggling with their steps.
Yeah, and they're doing, I don't know what they're doing. It doesn't really affect me what they're doing, but I'm truly happy.
You're in your own lane.
Yeah, I'm in my own lane, and they're trying to like take me off that lane.
Yeah.
Like even the staff, because they were addicts themselves, and it's like you would think they would be happy for me, right? But they weren't. They like were mad. Like I got kicked off the alumni meeting. Like they don't want me in the alumni meeting because I told the truth what happened. Like they thought I was lying, but I was actually doing my steps and I was doing everything. But I was going to see my girlfriend in the nighttime. Like and I was back by 10 o'clock like we're supposed to be, but we had dinner, you know, we were going out for dinner, we were doing all that, and like they were mad that I was doing that. Like I'm not supposed to be, whatever, but I was doing it, you know. And I gave them I was leaving on May 1st and I got kicked out the day I told them, like, you know. And it's like I didn't lie. I was going to the library, I was working my steps at the library, I was going to a noon meeting, you know. And the only reason we have to action out is in case we're missing group. And I was missing groups, so I could go do my steps. I would go to the library. I would go to the nooner, and I would come home around 4. I would shower, and then they kicked and then I would go and see my girlfriend for dinner because we ate the same shit every week.
Yeah.
You know, and so I guess they didn't like that, and they thought I was lying. And I'm like, look, like I wasn't lying on my action out. Like, look at my steps. You think that does itself? No. And I was like, they're like, you were going to see your girlfriend. I'm like, yeah, I was. I'm not gonna come up to you and tell you. You think I'm gonna just like come up to you and tell you what I'm doing? Like it's none of your business. And then they wanted to know where my girlfriend lived, and it's like it's none of your business where I'm going. Like I'm out of your care now. Like you don't need to know where I'm going. Like unless I'm missing group, why should you need to know my personal business? Like if you think I'm using drugs, then test me. You know, test me. But I think it's very important that you see, like after like at least 3-4 months, you're allowed. Like if I had a recovery house. You know, it's important for you to go and see your family, man. Like, it's important to see, like, if you fall in love, you fall in love. You can't control that. You know, it's important, man. Like, all these things they didn't let us do. You know,
Yeah.
it's like, it's hard. You know, the first couple of... Okay,
It's a fine line, though, right? Like, I see where you're coming from as well, because, like, as humans, we need that connection. But I think where they're coming from is, like, you need to work on yourself right now. Like, let alone be like, you know, but I think there's two sides to the coin. Like, and I think that those things can really help you out. But I think there's a lot of, like, types of people that, you know, are going to use that as an excuse, or maybe the girlfriend that they were with while they were addicts, and maybe that girlfriend uses. But
that's why
it sounds like your situation.
That's why they have piss tests.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you can't fool a piss test.
Yeah.
You know, like it got to the point, they watch it come out of the tip of your dick when you take it, eh? Seriously, it's the hardest thing ever, man. You like freeze up.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think I'd get stage fright.
Yeah, dude, it took me I drank like 4 liters of water one time. I had to take a pee test, man. But it's kind of like, you know, I'll pee in all the cups. I have nothing to hide. Like I don't want to fucking use again. Like it's like I'd do anything to stay sober. You know, if you told me to jump off the balcony, I'd jump off the balcony to stay sober. If like an anticipation came that I was gonna get loaded, and like you told me something, if it's like, okay, if you don't do this, you're gonna get loaded, but if you do this, you won't get loaded. I take anything to not get loaded.
Yeah.
You know, there's just so much pain and suffering that comes around with it. Like. I'm in this for the long term, man. Like I'll do whatever it takes to stay sober, man. And I would be lying if I say every day's like roses and sunshines, because it's not, man. Like sometimes it's like, you know, I just want to jump off a bridge. Like, you know, it's just like it gets hard, but you know what? It gets easier. Like you have those thoughts come through your head, but it's easier to just get, you know, if I was loaded and I had these thoughts, it would take all day for me to get over it, but now it takes a couple of minutes, maybe an hour.
Yeah,
but it's gone. Like it leaves your mind quicker.
Yeah, I think like the way that you're talking about that is the same way like I've always talked about, you know, like my depression. It's actually kind of similar, because I got to a point like it's like, okay, I'm not who I want to be. I don't think the thoughts I want to think. I'm hurting the people around me because I'm acting out in different ways, and maybe I'm like projecting my emotions on other people, or I'm being like kind of mentally abusive because I'm hurting inside. And I remember getting to a point where I go to my doctor and I'm sitting there and I start talking to her about all this stuff, and I'm telling her about how I'm feeling, and they get you to fill out those, like, I don't know if you've ever like heard of this, but like they give you like basically a sheet of paper, and it's like a list of things, and it's like, on a scale of 1 to 5, have you ever felt this when you wake up? Have you had this? And you go through and you answer, and they give you a score basically of how depressed you are. It's like out of like 50 or whatever, right? Yeah. And I remember I like fill that shit out, and my doctor goes like, look, like you do have a serious problem. Like we gotta start fixing this. Like, would you be open to this? Would you be open to that? And I remember looking my doctor in the eye and literally saying what you just said to me. I was like, bro, like I have been fucking hurting myself and other people for far too long. Like I've been joking to myself that I have control of this situation. Like I'm fucked. Like at this point, I will do whatever you say. Like I just want to be fucking better so bad, man.
And you know what? Like you know when you say like for me, like every single day in my addiction, I was like, okay, I'm gonna quit tomorrow. I'm gonna quit this day. And you know what? Like, if I was so, like, I believed it. Like, I knew I could do it.
Yeah, you sell yourself on it, man.
If you hooked me up to a lie detector
You're like the world's best
test,
salesman, bro.
Yeah, if you hooked me up to a lie detector test, I would have passed it with, like no problem.
Yeah.
Like, that's how bad I wanted to quit. But I couldn't. You know?
Tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tomorrow would come and I would be loaded.
Well, yeah, that's what I mean. Like, then it'd be tomorrow, and then the next day it's tomorrow.
Tomorrow is just like it goes, and like next thing you know, a year's gone by, and you're still in that rut.
Yeah.
You know, it was so bad. Like my dad's backyard, it had like it's like grass, and like it was me walking back and forth, and it was like you could see my my track that I would always walk back and forth, and it was like you could see the path, like the rut, like it was an actual like. That's how addicted I was. I grew, like there was a trace of me like going back to the shed, here, back to the house, here, shed, back, like you could see it. That was my life. Like that's all I did. Like it was just a rut. It was like, holy cow, like I have a problem. Like I'm a serious like drug addict, man. Like, you know, I would hide everything from everyone. Like no one knew anything about me.
Yeah.
Until I got sober. You know, and it's like, man, like if it wasn't for spiritual solution, there's no other solution. If you're in addiction so bad, like the only solution I think there is, in my opinion, like I was so far gone, and like I was like, yeah, what the fuck are these 12 steps gonna do? Well, I'm sober. You know, I hate, like I came into treatment and they're like, I'm like, fuck, what's this gonna do, you know? But like I don't know what it is. Like I don't know what happened. Like I never thought that was possible, man.
Yeah.
Like to this day, like.
Well, I think it's important, man. Like I think like this as well, because like growing up, like, and this is like kind of how like this is like what everyone says. So it's kind of like something I fucking hate hearing. It's kind of so cliche, but it's like growing up as like guys, like, you know. We hear about things like journaling, we hear about things like reading, we hear about things like reflecting on yourself or dropping your ego, or, you know, a 12-step program, or like I'm going to counseling or therapy. Like you hear all these things and you're like, fuck, man, like I don't need that, or I don't think that shit'll work for me. I have my own isolated situation, like that's for someone else. Like you think of that as like kind of like wimpy or weak or nerdy. And like I think it's important for like guys like you, like you're a big guy, you're tatted up, you're inked out, you got a nice beard, you know.
Yeah.
I think it's important for guys like you, where it's like, look, bro, like I was in a fucking dark hole, dude, for a long time, and I fucked a lot of things up. But I'm accepting this responsibility now. Like it's okay to reach out for help. It's necessary to reach out for help. Like you might not have the answer. Like I think that in and of itself is a powerful message. Like there's going to be kids out there that were like you and me, who like you know, we're not receptive to like the shows we see on TV that tell us to go get help. You know, we're in high school and someone comes and does an assembly about drugs. You went through the DARE program, right? Like do all of that stuff. Like we never gave a shit about. But I think that someone out there who's suffering sees like a guy like you and they're like, this guy's a fucking cool guy. He's big, he's jacked, he's strong, he's got ink. Like this is the guy I want to listen to. Like fuck, man, I'm not alone. Like the way he's talking, like I could see that in myself. Like I think that's the message like someone's gonna respond to.
And like, you know what's funny? Like you hear it. Like you hear it so much. Like men don't cry. Like men don't do this. Like men fucking cry, man. Like like men cry. And like you were saying, like you're never alone, you know, like it's just you got to reach out for help, you know, like, and like it's saying like, you know, I want to give back, you know, I want to go to high schools, I want to talk, you know, I want to be able to like get a message across, like that's what I want to do, that's what I'm planning to do. I want to go to high schoolers when this COVID's over and get a couple of us guys and like the Narcotics Anonymous for alcoholics and like go and share a message, because like, man, and it's crazy, man, like high school is now, I've heard meth's getting into them, you know, like meth, and they have this thing called Wi-Fi. You know what Wi-Fi is?
No.
It's Adderall, and it's
Isn't that from 0.2?
Yeah, it's Adderall and Xanax, and it's recreational in this generation that we're in now.
Jesus.
Like
Christ,
like it's normal. Like a staff member was telling me that his daughter wanted to do Wi-Fi, Xanax and Adderall, and you're right. I didn't know it was from 20 whatever that movie.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, man, it's in like high schoolers. It's like what kids do on the weekends now. Like, and like meth is in high schoolers because now weed's legalized, so meth's getting in there now, eh?
Yeah, because it's not what the rebels do now. Because it's legal.
So it's like, there's like, I don't know where the world's going, man, but like it's not okay to use meth, man. I'm telling you, it rewires your brain and makes you do stuff you would have never done. Like it's the worst mistake I've made in my life by doing drugs. Like if I could go back now and I could know what I know now in my younger body, I would have never touched anything.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. And I especially think like Richmond is definitely like plagued a lot because, bro, I don't know how many people I either went to high school with or went to college with or played sports with or, you know, met through other friends, and it's like, oh, so-and-so's addicted to this shit now, or so-and-so fucking took his own life, or so-and-so overdosed.
Dead.
And it's like, bro, how many fucking bodies have to drop until, like, we all kind of realize, like, this is fucked, man.
Yeah.
Like, we have to talk about this.
Exactly. Like, and it's crazy, like, I grew up in Richmond, too, and, like, you don't see shit on the streets, man. No. You know what I mean? Like, you see the occasional homeless guy.
Bro, I go for runs every single fucking night, or every single morning, and I wake up pretty early, so usually the people that are partying all night are up at the time that I get up, and like it's only like one or two guys every now and then that I see like kind of like sleeping at a bus stop or whatever.
When I was on Hastings, I've seen everything, like everything you could see, like prostitutes, like needles, like everything you don't want to see, and like, you know, I came back to Richmond, I was living in Richmond, I didn't see anything, and then, you know, and then I went to treatment and, you know, in Maple Ridge, and I was able to go out, and like I was able to go like once COVID restrictions let up. And dude, like I seen like, you know, Richmond has it pretty good, man. I seen like people were asking me for meth, people were asking me where do you get heroin, you know, and it's like I seen people shooting up, you know, and it's just like Hastings down there. It's crazy.
Maple Ridge.
Yeah. Downtown Maple Ridge, it's crazy.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, you know, I'm glad I'm super strong, you know, because like a couple of people in treatment told me they had drugs on them, and, you know, I was able to get rid of them and discard them, but I had to take piss tests because they thought I used them, but I didn't. I passed the test, but, you know, it's like now, like, I'm still a little bit hesitant when I, like, talk about, like, or, like, I hear people talking about it, I gotta, like, walk out, because it's like, man, like, this is too, like, what's the word for it, like, it's too tempting for me, like, it sounds too good, you know, it like, you know, and it's like it's not really like cool to talk about it, right? Like it's like I have a message, but like, you know, it's just like it's harsh for some people to like listen to, right? Like it sends them out the door, you know. But like,
bro, but that's good, man. Repel that evil out, man. Tell them fuck off. Yeah, I want nothing to do with that, because that's how, like, to the point where I got, like, I remember telling some of my old buddies that I used to, you know, party with quite a bit. I'm like, they'd be like, yo, do you want to chill? And I literally asked them, what are you planning on doing? Like, what are we gonna do? Like, oh, I'm just gonna sit around and play video games. Not interested, bro.
Yeah.
You want to go for a workout? You want to go catch a meal? You want to chill out?
Exactly, bro.
Like, do you want to do something else? Like, because anytime they'd be like, let's party, I'd be like, dude, I'm not fucking going anywhere near that. Like, I've had too many friends get impacted by this, where it's like, what, I have to go to another fucking funeral now? Or, like, I have to watch one of my buddies get, like, detached where I have to cut them off? Like, it's fucked up, man.
Yeah,
like,
and it's crazy, like, you know, like, I've had to cut off so many people in my life to be, like, the person I want to be, you know? Like, I don't want to, like, go back. Like, it's just, like...
I find you don't have to cut people out. You just have to cut behaviors out. And the people will cut themselves out.
Yeah,
you
but
know, like, you stop
like,
partying, your party friends disappear.
Yeah, but still, like, you know, I don't even want to talk to them. I don't even want to hear from them.
Oh,
like,
obviously.
I don't want to, like... It's hard enough, like, having people on Facebook that, like... I know do drugs and, like, you know...
You're seeing the status updates, like, the pictures, partying and shit, and you're
just like,
dude, fuck off.
Yeah, it's just like, you know, it's true, man. Like, who you are, who you hang around. Like, I can't, like, express that enough. Like, man, like, we were talking about earlier in the podcast how, like, you gotta keep setting goals for yourself. Like, and it's hard, man. Like, it's hard to set... Like, it scares me today to know, like... You know, like, that I want to do stuff and I'm scared to get there, you know, it's just like, but like, just push through it, just keep pushing, you know, the world is like open, you know, as long as you know, like, you know, I used to really hate cops and I used to hate them, but like, you know what, man, they're good people, you know, cops are good people, like, here in Canada, we have them pretty good, bro, like, they take care of us, as long as you're not a fucking shithead, and you're not causing any problems, why do you have to worry? You know, it's so nice now to have, like, not worry about cops when you're passing them, or it's like, if they want to stop me, they stop me. I have nothing to hide.
Yeah, dude, that's a good feeling as well. Like, I remember once I stopped fucking partying, once I stopped hanging around, like, certain people, like, there was this, like, weird comfortability I had where it's like, oh, yeah, I have nothing to hide now. There's nothing I need to worry about. Like, there's nothing, you know, like, it's huge, man. I think that, I think there's a lot of people out there that, you know, there's definitely, like, rough cops out there that are idiots and shouldn't be cops, but there's also, like, I like to think of it from the perspective of this, like, dude, especially in Vancouver, like, I think the main thing that cops do is fight gang violence. Like, I think that's one of the biggest things they do is, like, drug intervention, because there's so many drug dealers, and then they're, like, kind of going after gangsters, and I think that, like, it's pretty far-fetched to think that someone would just, like, sign up to risk their life every day if they didn't actually care about making society better.
Exactly.
Like, I think that that's huge. Like, I don't think that I could think of any rational person I know that'd be like, I would put myself in the way of getting killed just to fucking have power so I could fuck with people.
Yeah, for sure. But,
you know?
that I don't know, it's kind of, like, Canada's way different than the US, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, cops here compared to there, it's different.
Yeah.
And it's like the gangs just kill each other, you know, like, like, if you think it's cool to be a gangster, man, like, you know, like, you do what you do, like, people on the internet, like, I don't care what you do, but, like, just to let them know, like, that you're probably gonna end up dead if you're a gangster. Like, it's a short-lived life. Like, yeah, it might be a good life, you might think you're cool, but, like, it's not cool, man. Like,
bro, it builds into what you were saying. Like, you become, like, fucking anxious all the time. You're running from the cops. You're like, fuck, I have to hide this.
And, like, you know what's cool in my opinion? Watching someone help someone.
Yeah.
You know, that's what's cool, man. You know, that's what makes this world goes around.
Yeah.
You know, like, if you can help someone who needs help, if you can be there for someone when they're suffering, you know, if you can do anything to help someone, you know, that's the cool thing to do. Like, you know, like, it's for me, like, and then let's tie back into that, like judging, you know, like, I want to get my neck tattooed, right? Like, I already have one here, and, like, I just got my girlfriend's lips on my neck, and, like, you know, people are like, why would you get your girlfriend's lips? I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
I'll do what I want to do. If you want to judge me, go for it and judge me, you know? Remove me off Instagram, remove me off Snapchat, remove me off Facebook. I don't care. Like, if that's what makes me happy, why should it matter to the population?
Yeah, hell yeah, man.
You know, like, whatever happens, man.
Dude, 100%. And, like, I always like to think, like, I think I heard this on, like, a Gary Vee podcast, but it's like, you know, like every time someone's judging me, I always think in my head, I'm like, well, what the fuck? What about you, bitch? What the fuck? Like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Oh, you don't have fucking flaws?
Yeah.
Like, oh, they're like, oh, like, Mark swears too much, or Mark does this, or, you know, Mark is too intense sometimes, or he's too laid back sometimes.
Yeah.
There's always somebody saying some shit. And I'm like looking, I'm like, bitch, what about you?
Yeah,
what
you're
the
the
fuck?
one judging
You
me.
don't have any flaws? Like,
Yeah.
what the fuck? Like,
Yeah. Yeah. I
dude,
know
what were you doing? Like,
Yeah. What
you
are
know?
you doing, right? Like, yeah, it's
Like, we all have something fucked
yeah,
up.
yeah. And if you like, I call them defects of character, right? Like,
Yeah.
like we're always gonna have defects of character, no matter what. Like we do, like no matter how hard we try to remove them. Like the only person who can remove them is our higher power. And you know what? Like I believe, like I've came to a conclusion in the last like 4 months that like God's in here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Lives in your heart.
Like
man.
like He's in here. Like seriously, bro. Like your soul is God.
Mhm.
Like it's true. Like when you get anxious, you feel stuff. You never, you feel emotions. Like it's true. Like that's what I've realized. Like if I follow what's in, I can't follow my heart. I gotta follow my gut, because when I follow my heart, people take advantage of that kindness.
Yeah.
You know, but my gut will never steer me wrong.
Yeah.
You know, it's like a gut versus your heart. You know, what one are you gonna take? Because I'm a really caring guy, and you know, like when I see people doing like hurting themselves, you know, it fucking hurts me, man. Like I love people so much, it hurts.
Yeah.
You know, like it hurts.
Yeah. Yeah, dude, 100%. I like that, where it's like a war between your, I always say like your brain and your heart, but I agree, like I think your brain and your gut go hand in hand. Like I think that, you know, your gut or your brain is always like thinking on logic, and your heart's always thinking on emotion. It's like, well, what's that person gonna feel like? But then your brain and your gut's saying like, well, what's the situation gonna be like, man? Like, take a level-headed approach from it, dude.
And like this is the last thing I want to touch on, man. Like for me, like I've ran my whole life off self-will, like, and look where it's got me. It's got me on Hastings. It's gotten me kicked out of treatment centers. It's gotten me like distant bad, like dark holes, like you were saying, right? And like now I gotta turn. Like, I gotta think about, what does God want me to do, you know? If I don't make my own decisions anymore, like, I think of them, and I ask people what they think of them. And if they think it's good, I do it. If they don't think it's good, I don't do it. Because clearly, like, making my own choices in my own life has gotten me, like loaded. It's gotten me, like, hurt. It's gotten me, like, kicked out. It's gotten me, like just deteriorated. Like, man, like it's gotten me almost dead, like you know. And like, so when I think of something, I immediately ask someone what they think, because my best thinking gets me loaded. You know, I have my addiction has a hit on my ass, and it wants me killed. You know, like it's out there working out.
It's like the devil on your shoulder.
Yeah, versus the angel.
And it's fucking training on like, how can I fucking deceive him this time?
Yeah, it's on steroids, bro. And it's fucked up, man. Like, you know how many times I packed my bags up in treatment and said I'm leaving? Yeah, I packed my bags up, like, I packed up like 3 times. And like, I played the tape out. And I asked
the angel
people,
came back.
Yeah, exactly. It's crazy. Like, that addiction wants you dead.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's an addiction poem that like I read in treatment, and it's like, it's telling, it was just a big a write-out thing, and it was like just about addiction, and then, like, man, that thing's evil, man. That thing, like,
bro, it's the worst. It's the absolute worst, man.
It's killing people.
Fuck, man. Well, we're coming up on like, what, 2 hours now, actually. We've been chatting, bro. Like, this is one of the longest episodes I've ever done, because I just like this conversation a lot.
Yeah,
it hits close to home for me, man. But you know, for like maybe like a teenager out there, or a young 20-year-old out there that's kind of like maybe listening to this, and they're maybe struggling with addiction, they may be struggling with something else, but they just feel like maybe they're like fucking in too deep and they're lost and they just don't know what to do. Maybe they're like listening to you and they're like, fuck, man, that's me. Like, it's not me. It's not just me. Like, I'm not alone. Like, this guy did something or went through something similar. Like, what would be like your piece of advice to someone that like just feels like, fuck, man, I'm in a jam. I don't know if I can get better. Like, where you kind of were, where I've been. Like, what's your biggest piece of advice for that person?
Ask for help. You know, reach out. You know, there's a lot of services out there, right? Like treatment. You know, make sure you make the right decision. You know, and like, if you guys need help, you know, reach out to me, right? Like, Mark will link my Instagram in the in the description. And you know, if you ever need help, call me, man. Like my number's out there. If you're struggling, you know, if you want to meet up for coffee, if you need to talk, if whatever I can do, you know, just reach out. You don't have to struggle anymore, man. Like, you don't have to pick up. You don't have to do that to yourself. You know, there's so much help out there. You know, just try to get to a meeting. Try to, like, you know, get someone to take you through the steps, right? Like, you know, this spiritual awakening, man. Like, that's all I can say is, like, reach out for help, because, like, clearly our best thinking gets us loaded, man. We can't make our own choices, no matter how good we think we are. You know, we got to lose that ego and just be who we are, man, because, like, you know, this life, we don't live long enough.
No, dude, it's short and it's quick, man. You got to soak it up. The last thing I'll say, because I just kind of thought of this right now, and this is something that both of us experienced as well, like, you know, like the first treatment center you went to wasn't the answer for you, right? You had to try, you went to like 2 different treatment places, 2 different recovery places, you detoxed at different places, like, and like for me with like depression and anxiety, like, bro, I went through like 3 different, like I went to like counseling. That first counselor didn't work, and then I went to group counseling, and then that didn't work, and then I went to therapy. I do like medication. Like, you know, it's not always the first solution that's going to be the solution, but the idea that you want to just keep fucking smashing away, never give up. Like, okay, I know I need help, but like that person's not the right person to help me, so I'm going here. Like, exhaust every fucking option, right?
Yeah, exactly. And like talk to people, right? Like, make sure you know, I'm not gonna say it's like okay to get, like, you know, relapse doesn't have to be part of your story, you know, like, you know, you don't have to do it anymore, man. Like, relapse is part of mine, but like, you know, this time around, like, it's a new chapter in a new book, right? Like, I flipped the page in it. Now it's a new life, right? Like, and like one thing I want to talk about too is, like, you know, the cool thing about my life is, like, I've lived 2 lives, you know, like a lot of people can't say they've lived 2 lives. You know, I've lived an addiction life, and now I'm living a sober life. You know, like, life's just started. Like, you know, it's pretty, you know, I don't think I'd take this life back for anything. You know, I've experienced a lot, I've seen a lot, you know, I've survived a lot, you know, there's only a couple of people who can, like, a handful of people who can get thrown down on the streets and crawl right back up, you know. It just, you know, never give up, man. Like, you know, if you give up, you know, you just keep on crawling down that hole longer and longer and longer, and, you know, you just gotta reach out for help. Like, that's my main thing. Like, ask someone for help, you know, before it's too late. Because the drugs are messed up now, man. Like, you know, reach out to me if you need help. You know, I'm always here.
Oh yeah,
I'll put my number in the comments too.
Fuck yeah, dude.
Put my number in the thing, and yeah, man.
Dude, 100%. Dude, I think that's fucking sick episode. I think that I'm hoping that if you're listening to this, if you're watching this, if you've absorbed this information, like, I hope that this helps you, you know, maybe get a new perspective on things, maybe, you know, think of people differently if they are, you know, if you know someone that's struggling with addiction or mental health issues. Like, I hope this gives you a new perspective. If you are the one suffering, I hope this gives you like some inspiration or an idea that things can and will get better for you. You just have to fucking keep pushing, like, keep trying, and just not give up on yourself. But I guess that's like kind of the last of the messages we can give you. I hope
and Mark won't put my number in the comments. I switched my mind. Just my Instagram will be in the whatever, and if you need my number, I'll just DM me and I'll shoot you my number.
Yeah, 100%, man. I think that's probably a better way to do
I'm not putting my number out there.
No, that's smart, man. But yeah, thank you guys so much for listening to this journey. Like, Aaron, thank you for reaching out to me, man.
Smart.
This was wicked, and I think that there's a lot of people that'll listen to this and get a new perspective, maybe like get some hope or just have some positivity in their life. And like you know, both of us have said, this is stuff that translates past addiction. This is stuff that translates past mental health. Like, you know, talk about your problems, be able to have a relationship with your own brain, be able to reflect, be able to journal, be able to read and learn and drop your ego and understand that you might have some room for improvement. But that's the last notion I wanted to give out. There is hope. You're not alone, and life can and will get better. Thank you so much. Much love and peace out.